Waianae Neighborhood Board meeting to order. So first on the agenda, if we can have Mr. Endo.
If you can have you stand, but before I pray, if you was here at the last board meeting, I just want to apologize to my board because the way I said something, might have made it sound like I was telling the board is stupid, but I shouldn't even have used that word. So I want to apologize. Um, so just for your information, when a presenter comes from presenting that they're gonna build something on their property, and they um, were told by the Department of Building and Permitting to present to the board. It's a highly suggested thing to do. It's not required, but I'm glad that the guy came. Um, but it's not totally required. So, um, most of the time when they come and present, the permit's already been approved. So they're just sharing with us. So to make a motion to approve their project is not time effective for us. The other thing I want to share, because I noticed last month, a lot of the committees didn't have agenda and submitted early enough, so they didn't have meetings. So I just want to encourage our chairs in the committees. Uh, we had a standing rule that you submit your agenda and minutes on the 20th, around there. Yeah, before I pray, because of all the things that's been going on in our coast, the shooting, the violence, we are going to take a short moment of silence, and also going to address those issues in my prayers. So let's pray and pray in your own way for those that you know are hurting this day. Father of all comfort, we come to you and we ask you to comfort, especially those whose lives have been taken. The violence that have occurred in our community. I pray for the homeless man, Brandon, his family in Texas. Help them through this time. I pray for the two police officers that was involved with the shooting. Help them. Walk with them. Comfort them and their families. Lord, bring your peace in this situation and to these families. And Lord, once again, we just ask your blessing over our meeting, our community. May we do all things honor to your glory, your honor. For I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Mahalo, Mr. Endo. Before we jump into the next agenda item, I just want to say aloha and mahalo again for being here. We appreciate each and every one of you. Tonight, we have a full agenda as always, which we're most excited for. But we kindly ask that we be prompt with our concerns this evening and please ask questions. We are also highly recommend or encouraging writing out our concerns and comments or questions that we might have. We do have forms on the sign-in table for your use, and we will respond back to all concerns written and delegate them according to topics. I will personally email a response to each concern with chair of the committees for further discussion and overall how we may come to a resolution or hopefully solve or address the concern in question. As we have much to cover, we just kindly ask for your kokua and in respecting time limits. And please go right to the question. If it is, we're happy to discuss anything that's lengthier, as far as if you want to share history of your concern, but if we can meet offline or at a more convenient time for yourself as well. But again, we appreciate each and every one of you, and we look forward to serving you. And this is just so we can move swiftly through the agenda and as smoothly as possible. And then when it comes to community concerns, if we can start lining up so we can transition from offline and, online and in person very smoothly. And again, like we just are willing to work with you guys outside after this meeting to elaborate on your individual concerns. I'll also provide my contact information, but you can also find it on our neighborhood commission's website. But I just want to say mahalo again, and then going on to our first agenda item for Honolulu Fire Department.
Good evening. My name is Mike Doney, captain here at the Waianae Fire Station. Here with your neighborhood board report for February, the stats from January. So as far as the incident statistics for January 2024, we had 2 structure fires, 3 nuisance fires, 1 activated fire alarm, 202 medical, 2 motor vehicle collisions, 1 mountain rescue, and 1 ocean rescue. Fire safety tip for the month. The fire safety tip is don't stall, call 911. Call 911 right away when there's an emergency. Once the operator is on the line, speak clearly and provide an accurate description of the type of emergency and the location. Remain calm. The operator may ask for additional information or provide instructions. If you find yourself in a spot where you do not have good reception for voice communication, you can text your emergency to 911. If you don't know the passcode to unlock a cell phone, you can push the emergency button to unlock it and call 911. That's what I have for the month.
Mahalo. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you so much for your report. Board members? Seeing none, anybody online, board members? Okay. Board member Crab?
Hi. I just wanted to ask really quickly, with all of the flooding that we've been having throughout this rainy time, has there been any accidents related to the flooding that you guys had to respond to?
That's like motor vehicle accidents.
Motor vehicle accidents
Any
or
accidents?
any type of, rescues related to
Uh,
the large
Nothing
water?
that I know of. Yeah, so
Okay.
nothing major. Yeah,
Perfect. Thank you.
thanks.
Mahalo. Okay, any community that has any questions for Honolulu Fire Department? Okay, we don't have any questions, but we want to say thank you again for your service and for attending our neighborhood board meeting this month.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And then we're moving right along to Honolulu Police Department.
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair, board members. Corporal Pagan, the Honolulu Police Department, District 8 Community Policing. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, my mic is acting up, so. Okay, I have your crime stats for January. In January, we had 40 motor vehicle thefts, 9 in our area, 24 burglaries, 4 in our area, 160 thefts, 41 in our area, 43 unauthorized entries into a motor vehicle, 11 in our area, There's a total of 88 citations issued, a total of 6,589 calls for service, 1,635 were in our area. That's kind of all I have. I'm looking for any comments, questions, or concerns at this time.
Mahalo, Corporal Pagan. Board members, Mr. Endo, and then going to Mr. Lanford, and then Cross Crab.
Yeah, my question is, you know, I actually saw a video of the shooting of the homeless guy. But I was wondering, you know, with the Sentinel outbreak, and I was talking with a guy who used it, administered it. He died 3 times, and I guess there's this shot that you can give them to try to revive a person. What I was wondering, does the HPD, or I should ask the fire department too, what kind of training do you guys have now with their drug on the street? Because I understand just the thing getting on your skin can affect a police officer or anybody in a adverse way. And I was just wondering, you know, with that in mind, when you approach a person, um, do you guys have that caution in the back of your mind as well?
Whenever we do respond to a medical case, of course, there's always a concern about the transfer of bloodborne pathogens and stuff like that. So our officers are trained to take those steps with gloves, especially upon first contact. With the fentanyl, our officers are issued Narcan. So they do have a dose of Narcan, which is the drug that you're talking about. It's a one dose type of thing for an individual. It's a small little bottle, so it's only actually good for one time. Our officers have used it in the past. They've used it on other officers that were affected, as well as somebody that when they responded, there was a concern. The good thing about the Narcan, if you guys haven't been made aware, is that if someone is passed out or presumed to be under the influence of fentanyl, and we do administer it and they're not, there's no adverse effects, which is a good thing. So it's not going to affect them in a negative way if the officer uses it and it wasn't fentanyl. But yes, we are trained. Officers are talked to and may be made aware of what's happening and what can happen. And you know, we've been fortunate enough that our officers that have responded to those types of cases that have been affected, there was another officer with them that recognized the symptoms and what was happening, and they were actually able to save both the person as well as the officer.
Mahalo, Board Member Lanford.
The issue I have actually is not in the Waianae area, but it's in the, because Farrington runs right around the whole island, Farrington Highway. It concerns me at the water park area. I noticed, I brought it up once before, but I don't know which department to contact to address that situation. And situation is the guy's coming from Kalaeloa, making the left turn to get onto Farrington to get to Waianae. On the turn itself, they just, instead of waiting until, you know, there's opening, or instead of clogging the turn itself, they tend to clog it, and nobody that's coming down on the access road that was I guess it was, it used to be one of our regular roads, but they changed it over. So that's the one fronting the water park. So guys that coming on a water park is backed up all the way to the overpass bridge because the two lanes that's coming on Kalaeloa tend to block um the the guys that come in on that side street to get to Waianae. So which department or who can us as the transportation department address transportation committee address that situation?
Okay, just to clarify, so you're talking about the one that's coming out of Campbell Industrial
Yes,
over the bridge, turning left at the water park to get onto
Yes.
Farrington. Okay.
yes,
Um,
that's the one.
Yeah, that, unfortunately, if you look at that road, there's not much they can do as far as changing opening up the lanes and stuff like that. So, there is a traffic light.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
do ask that people obey the traffic light, but again, other than having a police officer sit there all day to make sure that people don't clog the intersection.
I don't think it's all day. It's just when get that particular, when they pull work. I mean, it's like between 3 o'clock and, I don't know, 4:30, 5 o'clock, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
sure,
I think
but
it's actually a little
when
bit.
you say all day, it's not as if they're sitting over there all day, not doing nothing. I mean,
Well, the thing is, I understand, but what I'm trying to say is that between 3:30 and 6 o'clock, it's kind of bad over there. But to be honest, that's one of the busier times of our day shift, that goes into our night shift. With everybody coming home and things being reported that happened at their home or whatever, the offices are actually really busy at
So-
that time.
so what's the remedy? Nothing.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say nothing. I mean, other than people following the law.
So it sound like
remedy
though,
is-
sound like
the rem-
HPD is nothing.
Mahalo.
Well, like I
Is there
said,
an answer to
the
the
remedy
question?
is if
Purple
people
Penguin?
follow the law,
Mhm.
then people won't block the intersection. You can talk to DOT about maybe putting up a sign that reminds
So-
people not to block the intersection. We can have our officers check, but again, like I said, and this is something that happens all the time. People complain about speeding. We put an officer there, nobody speeds. As soon as the officer leaves, everybody's speeding. So we can have officers go and check the area and stay there as long as possible and make checks. But again, that's not going to necessarily remedy the problem in a sense where once the officer leaves, there's no guarantee that people are not going to go back to that same behavior.
Well, before days, it used to work because I used to see police officer across the street or right in front of the water park, sitting in his car watching watching that these guys illegally block the whole driveway. So I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. You
I
know,
mean, one of the things, just like by as you enter in Nanakuli, there's an officer that sits at the traffic light that actually activates the light so traffic can go. That's an officer that's hired through special duty by the Department of Transportation. So you can talk to them about maybe hiring someone to have an officer there on a special duty cases. But like I said, I mean, as short staffed as we are with officers, to have one sitting there for 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours, again, that's a lot of resources being removed for or for something like that. So you might want to talk to the Department of Transportation, see if they can hire a special duty officer for a while and see if that might get the word across or people start following the rules over there.
Kalamai, thank you. So yes, I appreciate you guys. I know that you guys are on assignment, and so that is definitely a deeper discussion that we'll have with transportation as it's a concern. Mahalo, Board Member Lanford, for that question. And for HPD, and then we're going to Board Member Cross Crab, and then we have one member in person on site.
Corporal Pagan, clarifying question for your folks' crime stats. Do you guys keep track if the different stats that you said, if there's one, repeat offenders, and then two, if those people that were cited were also a part of the other areas that you spoke about? Not areas physically, but areas of types of crimes.
It's really hard to say because when we arrest someone for theft, it goes on as a theft case and there's an arrest, but there's no way of us knowing that if that person was responsible for 3 or 4 others in other areas, until an investigation goes through and the detectives are able to link them together to other cases, whether it's the breaking of the cars or the burglaries and stuff like that. So that's something that would happen longer, a little bit further down the road. And to be honest, that would be kind of a nightmare to try to get those stats to
What I do is
figure out, okay, well, in January, we had 12 thefts. And the guy that we arrested in June was responsible for the 12 thefts in January. So,
Okay, no, thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Chair.
Mahalo. Okay, if you can just state your name for the record, please.
Check.
I think Bert James. No, no word.
Check, check.
Mahalo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, board members. Happy New Year. I know you're going to have a very prosperous new year coming up. Hello, Mr. Ando. I haven't seen you in a while. I don't have a question for the police department, but I have a statement. I want to say thank you to the police department. And if you can relay this message to all the detectives and the police officers that were involved in catching this young man that killed my friend over here on Fenton Highway across from Waianae Mall, Andrew. It's a very sad situation. There's a lot of young individuals getting their hands on weapons lately. And I think it's ridiculous. I know the police department doesn't have anything, cannot control all of that. But I just want to tell you to relay the message if you can to the detectives that I thank you guys, you folks very much. You guys did an awesome job in catching this young man. I know he just threw his life away. And to me, that's sad. But I want to thank you folks for doing a good job of catching him. And maybe now the prosecuting attorneys can do their job. Thank you.
thank you, sir. We'll definitely pass that on. Thank you.
So I'm not seeing any other questions. We will be moving on to ocean safety, and that is, I believe Jason is online. Lieutenant Jason Patterson.
Hi,
Hello.
hello, everyone. Hello, board members. Thank you.
Aloha.
You guys can hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
Michael,
yeah.
thank you.
Hi, my name is Jason Patterson for Ocean Safety. The stats that I have for the Waianae Coast with Keawa Ula and Makaha is that we have, maybe like 7 rescues out at Keawa Ula, and then we have 10 to 15 rescues outside of Makaha. And with these big rains and storms that we had recently, with the beach kind of reshaped itself, and we had a lot of wood and debris all over the beaches, and that was a few changes that we experienced this so far this year, which caused a lot of sandbars at all the different beaches, and that kind of invited a lot of people, so we had a lot of rescues. Also, we had a lot of injuries at the Kaina Point hiking trail. So that what we was involved in so far this year. Thank you.
Mahalo. Any questions, board members? Online? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you so much, Ocean Safety, for your attendance, and HPD and the fire department. We appreciate you guys' service to our community. Aloha.
Awesome.
Um,
Aloha.
Mahalo. And then we are going right into community concerns. So if we can line up here, and if you have extra time, please yield your time so we can move right into the next. Oh, I'm sorry. One moment. Board Member Perry, is that a question for ocean safety?
No, community concern. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hold on just a moment. We're gonna go right here in person. State your name for the record, please.
Aloha board, aloha community. My name is Ben Williams. I'm the race director for the Makaha time trial. It's a cycling event that we we are grateful to be able to hold in Waianae. We ride our bikes up and down Farrington Highway. We start out at Keawaula and ride towards Makaha Surf Beach and head back. It starts very early in the morning. Hopefully, nobody even knows that we're there. But if you are out on the road, there may be a few extra bikes out there in that stretch. That's what we're up to. We're very grateful to the community for letting us come out and do that. I've got some information here, a couple of maps, and my contact information I'll leave with the board. I also laid a set at the reception table if you folks want to take a picture. I'll stick around if you have any questions. We'd love to get the community involved with this as much as possible. We have extra bikes. There's a keiki division where we have somebody ride with the keiki to make sure they're safe, a chaperone. But we have plenty extra keiki bikes and adult bikes. If anybody's interested, it's not too late to register. Waianae residents get to race for free. So we hope to see you out there. It's going to be early on Saturday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. from Keawaula to Makaha. Bikes will all be in the shoulder. There should not be any traffic issues, but if you see bikes, that's what's going on. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Ben. Okay, and then just create a line over here if you guys have any concerns, please. And then we're gonna go to Board Member Perry.
Thank you. I'm just, the only one concern I will address tonight is about we're not complying with the Neighborhood Board Commission's decision on the previous complaint. Thank you.
Is there, sorry, can we just have just a little bit of clarification, narrow it down a little bit for us, please?
Regarding the chair, the Neighborhood Board Commissioners gave us the decision and we're not complying with it. So that's my concern. And you and I had a long chat about it and still nothing's been done. Thank you.
I would ask and request for that documentation because I did not receive any documentation stating that it needed to be on our agenda.
Decision was made.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Jeffrey.
Hey, Board Member Perry. Real quick, I understand where you're coming from with the decision. The decision was made, just for clarification that he's no longer has a board position, but he's still a member of the board.
I understand. I understand, and we should not have a pro tem chair. We should have a regular chair.
Vote on chair. But it wasn't by the NCO never told us we had to. Exactly. Lloyd made it very clear to us.
Send Junior vote for anyone anyway, right?
Okay, thank you for your concern.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, in person. Just state your name for the record, please.
A Blessing Star, Biko Hawaii Paina, the Kingdom of the Hawaiian Islands, Diplomatic Minister, also Waianae Kapuna Council, Social Services. I want to greet you all, community and board. I'd like to bring this up to your attention. This is a personal issue that I have. I am finding it very difficult to speak up in this regards because it's personal. However, because of my social services, public service to the community, I needed to bring this out. I wanted you guys to all know, for the people, that there are people out there, there are landlords who own more than one property, who are renting out to people like myself who has Section 8 and trying to get whatever amount they can get and then renting it out to someone else who also has, like City and County. They get some portion of taxation off and then turn around and go to the state and get that portion taxed off. As well as for myself, I'm left out with the deposit and also the first month rent, or like for me, I paid the whole year. In that sense, I want the people to know that who are looking for homes, because homes are lesser for us, and people with families and everything else who are going to the state to try to get these housings brochures are also facing off scams and homeowners like Alicia Shaw that I've been facing off with. Now, HPD has issued me police report.
30
That is the
seconds.
steps we need to take. Thank you.
Mahalo, blessing. Any members online? Please just raise your hand if you have any concerns that you would like. Okay, we have,
Hello, my name is Austin Salcedo, resident of KL's Makaha area. Just making awareness, this past Monday, we had a community meeting out at KL's regarding the city resolution, city council resolution that was adopted for the improvements for KL, the 22-151. But there was an appearance of the watermen, lifeguards that came out to make awareness of certain things that's happening out there, because line item 8 of the resolution is to construct a in parallel to Farrington Highway, the concrete barriers to deter any type of misbehaviors that's going along the undeveloped portion of the beach. So the watermen, the lifeguards that came out, and I didn't expect to see them there, but they found this group of people that we were, and made discussion and made awareness of the emergency access area to the undeveloped portion in case they have to respond, first responders to a casualty that may occur, probability occur in the water, because the lifeguards would have no access. But line item 7 of the resolution states for a cattle gate to be installed. So right now, I don't know where the funding's on that for the resolution regarding the cattle gate to be installed on the undeveloped portion, but it's written. It was an adopted resolution, 22-151. So making awareness, this is only safety. So the waterman has
30
has
seconds.
concerns. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mahalo. Anybody online? Community concerns? In person? State your name for the record.
Hello, Michael Eli. Michael William Capolino Eli. First things first. The guys at the ranch, they're riding their horses in the forest now. I don't know, they don't want permit from the DLNR to ride their horses. I mean, on the trail that I made, they're going inside Waianae Kai already. So now I stay hunting my dogs. They're coming over there, and there's a whole hunting area. So you guys don't belong going with the horses, because that's not my dog's fault if the thing bite the horse. The thing is hunting. So what? You can blame my dog for biting your horse, but I get them out of control. But how about the other hunters that go inside there? I'm not thinking not only me, but I get other hunters that go in there. I think open up all every day, all day. So the guys, they're riding their horses and they shitting all over the trail. And they walk down the border water supply road, everything. That's this Saturday when I was back, I was flipping. Because when I go back to my truck, because I take it a fire break. So that's all I do up there. So when I was going back to the truck, got a Dodge shit. When I walking back with my weed whacker. So that's kind of nuts. You know what I mean? That's the first time I seen. And I made that trail so the DLNR can calm down and fight the fire when get fire. So they can park over there. And that's what they did the last time when I had the fire. They all went parking and then walk down and then use the trail that we had
30
opened up.
seconds.
Okay. And then get, now one more time now. So down over here, get one housing over there, past Angel's Junkyard. You go up there, they stay drilling now for water. So I wonder if the thing gonna be affecting us up there, Punana because they're drilling low. Yeah. I mean, they never bring them to the board that they're gonna do that. I mean, they're building like iron things. So who's supposed to manage that? And what they stay on is historic preservation. Even though they bought the land, they want clause for that mountain range over there. Because it's historic preservation. So those guys stay drilling right now. You can see them, plain and simple. So I stay tripping out. They're drilling for water already. So I like know who gonna be accountable for it if we get jammed up all the way up there.
Right.
Because this summer, I mean, this whole place, I mean, this year, 20 years I was up there almost. So 20 years, we had the meanest drought because the Lo'i wasn't running. Like the water was getting sucked out, like because the heat and the trees up there. So that's the first time that I seen it for 20 years that had meanest drought. I mean, had three of us seen that and we're stripping out.
Mhm. Thank you so much for your concern. I know we do have some, hopefully some manao that we can bring today with one of the presentations in hopefully some of these concerns, and then we can definitely discuss further on what is the course of
Yeah,
action that.
because those guys, even them, they stay in violation already because they, like I said, they're drilling.
Right.
They don't want no drilling permits. That's undermining, and they made fences for their horses. So now that you need a permit for drill. I mean, how Eric did them, he pound the fence in, and that's how you're supposed to do them, not drill and disturb the EV and whatever underneath the ground. They're not archaeologists, that's why. That's all illegal, and they get illegal dumping going on. They working and then they're dumping their rubbish over there like grass and dirt. Cause I'm walking there, but now I'm not like going there because they get firearms there on their horses and everything. I see them when they walking their horses, they get guns. They think so this wild west. And I mean, like I said, if they shoot my dog, somebody gotta be holding accountable for that. I mean, what about the other hunters if their dogs get shot? Cause they don't know they get horses in there, right? Cause nobody know.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
aloha.
Mahalo. Any other community concerns online? Okay. Okay, so none in person. If I can have our first presenter, we're moving on to presentations. So for the Cook property, and just for clarification purposes, we did not hear the presentation on this property, and that's why we are here tonight. And this is Mark Holland. Holland.
Mahalo nui loa. Thank you for having me here today. Sorry for the confusion last time, but I think we've got it straightened out. In the future, as I promised last time, even SMA minors, I will send them to the board so that you can see them. So the board is always in loop of what's going on. As you know, SMA majors do not require us to present to the board, but we always feel neighborhood boards need to be kept in the loop. So we will continue to do that for any of the minors. This is the Cook residence that we discussed last time. We have an appointment with the Nanakuli Board for the Passmans, which the Neighborhood Commission incorrectly told us was in front of you. So we're meeting with Nanakuli, and I'm going to have my wife present, who is from Nanakuli, so present that one. So this is Kim and Raymond Cook. Again, we'll go through it shortly. I just did a short PowerPoint. Obviously, you've had a long time to look at the EDD. For 500 pages that DPP makes us right now. One concern the board had last time was the gates were going to open outward to the Farrington. We talked to Don Corbin, who's the engineer. He's going to change it so the gates open inward to the property. So we'll accommodate that. The other issue raised was the right-of-ways. Less than 500 feet away is a condo right-of-way. And then also on the other side, within about 600 yards is another right-of-way to the beach. So we don't need to do anything in between. DPP came back and told us as long as there's something within 1,000 feet, it's fine. And as long as you don't fence the beach. So that's the conditions that DPP is going to impose upon us. So if we can flip to the next slide. Obviously, this has to go under chapter 343 and 205, which is the shoreline setback laws. The location is on the Farrington Highway, obviously. They're going to construct a vacant lot They want to construct a dwelling with an ADU for family members located on the property. They're outside the shoreline setback. So therefore, they're in conformity with the size of the lot, the R5 zoning, and they can adhere to all the regulations. We've already consulted with DPP. They feel that because, as we go down another one, this is a summary just to give you the details. Recorded fee owners, Raymond W. Cook, trustee, and Kimian Cook, trustee. And so as you can see, this is the proposal. Next slide. The proposed action, as I said, is to build this dwelling. It's mainly in the AE flood zone. The velocity extreme zone is down by the beach. So they're staying in the AE flood zone. They still have to adhere to the AE6, which is 6 feet elevation above mean sea level. So it'll be slightly elevated to make sure that floodwater is not impacted. Next slide. This is the locus map of the property. One that we were confused with last time is the one to the west. And you can see the condo properties are to the east. So the outline in blue, and I take no apologies for the state and their GIS. The blue property lines that they show on the state website are usually off by about 5 or 6 feet. So it's roughly in that position. Next slide. These are photos of the site. As you can see, it's a vacant lot. The proposed work area is toward the front, towards the highway, staying away from the beach and the shoreline. It shifts over the beach sands about 2/3 deep into the lot. So there'll be no excavation or work with beach sands, so we don't have to worry about dealing with EV. And then also, even in the AE zone, spreader footprints, Don Corbin has designed spreader footprints. So it's not deep pilings going into the ground. It's spreader footers to support the structure. So there's very shallow excavation. Most EV bones are 5, 6 feet down. Post and beam spreader footers usually only go down a foot or two. So this is something that will protect the cultural impacts of the site. We can keep on going. This is the property information from the DPP site. Just basically tells you who owns it, what's its value. Next slide. This is the proposed construction. Again, it's designed to stay as much to the front of the lot as possible. We've already talked to engineer, as I said, to agree to open the gates inward. So there's nothing coming out to the highway, and it will maintain the setbacks that are required. Next one. This is the erosion transit. So as you know, University of Hawaii has studied not all the shorelines, but quite a few of them. This is one of them. It actually has a shoreline gain over the next 7 years, not much, about 4 feet. Unlike Hawaii Kai or Kaneohe, where they have losses as much as 70 feet projected over the next 70 years. This one actually has a slight gain of shoreline. Not much, but a little bit. Next slide. Just required in DPP SMA violence to show the plot map highlighted in yellow. This is a lot we're discussing tonight. Next slide. Again, the project summary is we have to comply with everything that DPP wants us to supply. So it's hurricane surge maps. It's sea level rise, 0.5, 3.2, passive flooding, flooded highways. We go through all this. So they asked us to approve all these things to show that there's no environmental impact to the project, to the environment. And by sticking to the correct flood zone, by sticking outside of the 3.2 sea level rise, by adhering to different components of elevation and flood protection, And again, with shallow footings, we address cultural issues as well. So that's what we're trying to do with the project. Next slide. This is a sea level rise. As you can see, it's all over the place. Most of the Waianae is low-lying, like Haleiwa, for example, where I'm from. Most everything in Haleiwa is a VE zone. Luckily here, they do have a section of AE zone where they're going to be trying to make sure the dwelling can adhere to the floodplain elevation required for that project. Next slide. So the blue is the AE, yellow is the X, and the orangey red is the VE zone. The work is mainly in the blue. Next slide. This is a Category 4 hurricane surge map. That little circle you see above the blue is the site. So there is a hurricane surge below the site, basically where the condos are. But their site is not even in Category 4, which is unusual for the Waianae. A lot of the Waianae is in Category 2, Category 3, Category 4. So they're actually hurricane surge, they're pretty safe. Next slide. We agree with the provisions for endangered species, even though this is the season for Pacific Gulf and plover. I know they were on that beach at times. They just weren't there doing our site inspections. So we consult with U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Land and Natural Resources. We make sure all the provisions for protecting seabirds, green turtles are in place. So the project will adhere to what they call dark sky provisions, no light shining out to affect and disorient them. It will also adhere to, if anything comes onto property, there's albatross at Kiana Point. If they come down to this site and they nest on the property, one of the requirements of DPP is that work is immediately stopped. And U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Land and Natural Resources is consulted and asked what to do about the disposition. Do not disturb the seabirds. Just stop your construction until you get guidance to what to do. So those are the provisions we're doing for any endangered or threatened species. So we try to make it brief because I know last time we presented for a while and we've had plenty of chance to look at the thing. So we just thought we'll give you a short presentation and open to any questions you have.
Board Member Gannabon.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you bringing up the DPP, but as you can see, being a resident on this side, when they say that area is protected from a hurricane, they're safe from hurricane zone, they didn't live there. You know what I mean? They didn't see the big boulders that was across the street that affected on boat houses and why all those houses against that beach was all wiped out. So, you know what I mean? So as for DPP as well, them saying that they don't require a access because there's already 2 access areas. One, you know what I mean? The part they're not understanding is where's these emergency vehicles are supposed to park when there is an emergency on that beach?
Yeah. They basically came back and said at the condos, the
So,
beach access there.
no, I know. I
Yeah.
have Dawn is online as well.
Yeah.
So, and that's the biggest problem there. So just to make sure your residents know that is public area. Cars will fill up in that area.
Yeah.
And they have no rights to that area because that, you know what I mean? You are taking what is known as the public area to the park. So we will have a different discussion with DPP, and that's the thing, right? They all come out, everybody comes out and says, oh, no, it is not affected. You know what I mean? Do they live this side? Do they actually know? So that's the biggest issue that we have, right?
As
And,
my wife said when she lived in Nanakuli,
Yeah.
you had to worry about the fires from the mountains and the waves from the ocean, and
Yep.
you had nowhere to go in between. So
Yep.
that's pretty much the situation. So we do realize hurricane surge maps, sea level rises. We did on West Maui, we did every one of the 50 reefs and all their sea level rise done by University of Hawaii. Over half of them were wrong. So it
Thank you for
happens,
saying
but
that.
we have to go with what is.
So maybe with your studies, you can actually say that we can put a bathroom back in front where the old Cornets was in 7-Eleven. Because based on the city saying that, oh, it's not, we can't do it and we can't develop anymore because of high sea level rises. But yet they're authorizing a huge project right on the beachfront.
Right.
So that's where the catch-22 is. You know what I mean? They won't provide any public services, but they'll allow private building on the prime lots.
Yeah, I'm sure I can work with Dawn to discuss the public bathroom.
Thank you.
She used to sit on the hot board with me when I was on the hot board.
Perfect.
So we'll talk to Dawn, see what we can do.
Thank you, sir.
Well,
Mahalo. Okay, we have 2 minutes left for this presentation. Is there any other questions from board members? Board Member Perry?
Just be sure that the front of the property, that the public can continue to park there. And they have access, beach access, because there's a home on Farrington Highway across of St. John's. They, it's public parking, but, they often have parties and the public cannot park there. So they make it become their own, but it's not their own, it's public parking. So, so for you as well, the public parking remains public. Thank you.
Mahalo.
Essentially, outside of, you can't block the gate to the owners to the property.
Yes.
Obviously, there's a right of way off the Farrington Highway, basically back to the wall, and it's not declared, there's no parking signs along that frontage, but you cannot block the gate to the property.
That is correct.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay, not seeing any other questions. Anybody online? Okay, thank you so much, Mark, for coming again.
Yeah, thank you for having me again. It's a pleasure to come
We
out.
appreciate you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. If anybody does, then come, go ahead. Just moving forward, if anybody has questions on any of these presentations, form a line there after board goes, then community, it will be open to community.
So his project is the one next to the building then? Well,
Is it closer to the bus stop?
oh, this one, the biggest one, yeah, the 2 lot. So now they just made one gate over here next to this one, brand new gate, they take it down a Calvin tree, but not. The one next to Big Daddy's, I call them Big Daddy's. Yeah, the old man. Yeah. So that's what he doing. So remember how we told him, looking over the beach, like how the thing was coming more in, the erosion like that, his property was on the beach already, yeah?
Right.
So what he gonna do, he can still do that project or they will come in 10 feet more.
That unfortunately, even from the department, they kind of, they do sometimes give like 5 or 6 feet. Like he explained that so it might not necessarily be where the line is on the photo, but it's actually, Mark, could you clarify that? More inland of the map? Like when you show us the photo of the blue lining,
Or,
it's inland. Okay.
or he could follow.
I just want
you
to
know,
make sure we clarify his question.
Big Daddy's property line, that's the line.
Yeah,
That's why
that's
he never
definitely.
go all the way out there.
Yeah, no, that's what we talked about in last month's or when
Yeah,
he
yeah,
first
you remember,
presented.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's,
He the developer.
so no, he's the person who's actually working with us. He actually does the studies of the area. So he's the science guy. You know what I mean? And he's just presenting for the owners in what he has found.
Yeah. So Big Daddy was living there for like maybe about 30, 40 years.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
his property line is way
Yeah.
from the beach.
Yep.
'Cause once the water come up, you're gonna jam up the sand.
Yes.
How does sand move inside the,
And that's
in
what
that
he's
bay?
explaining. But of course, DPP has what UH has, which they're supposed to be highly educated and know the area. So, you know what I mean? That's what they're going on, right? But none of us who live here are educated enough at that level to tell these people what's going to happen to them. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's what's going to happen and that's where their insurance policies are going to come in, right?
Gonna be like
So-
not sure, right?
So as long as we know, and they know, we have brought that up last month, is that the public will not be responsible to fix their houses when they are demolished by natural causes.
Mhm.
And that's what we had made made aware of last month
Yeah,
when he
yeah.
first presented.
To address that concern about property lines, as I mentioned, the state GIS central, it's off by
Yep.
sometimes as much as 10 or 12 feet. So though the blue line comes from their site, we're not surveyors, we're environmental scientists. So we basically ask you to go more by the actual plot plan, the engineer's plan of Don Corbin, which would actually have survey stakes and everything to show the property line.
Right.
And we're staying out of the beach totally. So it addresses that. And then I've been an environmental consultant for over 50 years. And so we only work mainly for local people. We don't work for mainlanders. And we make sure the local people are educated to protect their houses by doing things like elevate correctly, have flood-proof footings to make sure it doesn't affect as much as possible. So that's the efforts that we make on our half.
Okay, mahalo. Is it another question?
Yeah.
Could you?
Access point.
Access point.
I don't know how they're gonna make an access point over there, because that's where the guys get slammed, and that's where they save one life over there.
So we can
'Cause
definitely
they went
continue this
big footprint,
discussion?
That's how come they went right through them, the lifeguards.
Yes.
They went save somebody right there, right in front of that property.
Mhm.
He got slammed right there, and he was almost gone. But they saved lives, so like I said, they cut the gate and they went right through that property.
Yeah, Mike, that was brought up, and DPP has.
But I don't think so. They're gonna make one.
They're not.
One walkway between the.
Mike, they will not.
Yeah.
DPP has stated that there's already existing access points less than 1,000
Yeah,
feet
between
away.
the buildings.
I understand, but that's what, you gotta bring that up to Don.
Mm-mm.
That's the person there.
Mahalo. Okay, so we're moving on to our next presentation, Board of Water Supply rate increase.
Let's go, Ernie. Tell us what we need to know.
Aloha, everybody. Ernie Lau, Board of Water Supply. LMI, that I have to put my back to you folks. My apologies. Sorry. Okay. I just want to introduce my staff. I brought folks on the Board of Water Supply, my deputy manager, Mr. Erwin Kawata. We also have our assistant waterworks controller, head of our finance division, Kaliko Lam Ki, and Keone Matos from our communications office. So mahalo for the opportunity to present tonight. I'll try to be a quick share.
Mahalo.
Next, please. So for Board of Water Supply, we provide water to most of this island of Oahu. Almost 1 million people every day with safe drinking water. And to do that, we have to produce about 145 million gallons on average to meet the needs of almost 1 million people across the island. And to distribute that water, we have to take the water from aquifers, underground resources, and pump that water through pipes to tanks and into over 2,000 miles of pipelines to get it to our 170,000 customers around the island. Basically 170,000 plus water meters in the system. Next, please. So just a reminder to everybody, the Board of Water Supply, we are part of the city and county of Honolulu. However, we are financially self-sufficient. We answer to a water board or a board of directors that's appointed by the mayor. Also 2 members that are serving by sake of their position, the chief engineer from the Department of Facilities Maintenance and the director of the State Department of Transportation sit on and that's our 7-member board. We're financially self-sufficient. We no property tax funds to operate the water system island-wide to improve all this infrastructure. And our rate increases that the board adopted last November of last year only apply to the water portion of your bill. Over 80% of our customers have a water charge and a sewer charge. When you pay that total bill, the sewer charges, that money for the sewer charges goes to the Department of Environmental Services. We do it as a billing service to add it to our bill. The water charges come to the Board of Water Supply. And for most of you, like myself, when I look at my bill, 2/3 or 3/4 of my bill is the sewer charge and 1/4 is the water charge. So just remember, these rate increases that the board adopted last year only apply to the smaller portion of your bill, the water charges. Next, please. What we did with the last rate increase that took effect 2018 was actually to implement almost 500 projects island-wide, over almost $750 million worth of capital projects to improve our water system infrastructure island-wide. Next, please. This is the challenge we faced. When we did the rate study back in 2017, we didn't know there would be a global pandemic. I don't think anybody was coming. And we made assumptions on what the rate of inflation was and what our revenue requirements to cover our operating budget and our capital program. And we projected out, and that's the lower yellow line on this graph. But what really happened is that green line, and that's how inflation and the cost of doing business rose over that period of time. So we really underestimated, and it wasn't our fault. We did our best guess at the inflation rates going out in the future, but it really, the reality of pandemic hit, and we're still recovering from the effects of the pandemic, global pandemic. There is a Water Matters newsletter on the table out there. So this is a good summary of our water rate increases and why we're doing it and why we need to do it. So if you can't see the slides, that's okay. Go find the Water Matters newsletter at the table when you sign in. Next, please. So some of the other challenges that we faced. Hawaiian Electric bills basically go wherever fuel prices go, the cost per barrel of oil. And we saw in the last few years that cost per barrel of oil just rose rapidly. And Hawaiian Electric has something on your electric bill called I think it's energy cost factor. And that increased very rapidly from like 10 cents a kilowatt hour to about 30 cents per kilowatt hour. So we saw our electricity rates go to our total annual electricity bill on the order of $33 million a year. That 145 million gallons that we have to produce every year, most of that is pumped from underground aquifers or moved through the system to where people need that water. And that requires electricity. So our electricity bill is large. And although the purple line on the top there, total kilowatt hours, shows that over the years, we've tried to become more energy efficient and actually generate our own electricity through photovoltaics, PVs, like what a lot of people have in their homes. And our project actually now generates about 3 megawatts of all PV renewable energy power. So reduced our reliance on HECO, but the rate that the energy cost factor from Hawaiian Electric is basically outstripping the savings that we are trying to achieve through efficiency and renewables. Next, please. So we are responding to Red Hill. And I know that there's been portrayals, especially by the media, that the rate increases are driven by Red Hill, the issues with the Navy's underground fuel tanks built in 1943. But that actually is not accurate. It only accounts in the next 6 years, while we project for our CIP projects over the next 6 years, only about 6% of our total costs. So it really didn't play a big role. It has a role, but it's not a big role in affecting the water rate increases. Just the cost to operate the water system island-wide and also the infrastructure investments that we see we need to do in the next 6 years really are the primary drivers for the rate increases. So I'll just move on. Next, please. So, we didn't go about. We take it very seriously when we have to increase water rates because we know everybody is struggling. And we struggle with the amount. We have to balance providing safe and dependable water to our community 24/7, along with affordability for our community. And because we're financially self-sufficient, it is a difficult balance to achieve, especially in the challenges that we're facing in this time. So we had to really take efforts to also tighten our belt. So the energy cost increases, we could have passed those on to our customers, but I said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to tighten our belt and look for ways to save costs and reduce costs so that we wouldn't pass that cost on to our customers. And over the last 5 years or so, I think that was over $30 million of costs that we absorbed through looking at ways to be more economical. Next, please. This is what it takes each year. This is what we project the revenue requirements for this year to be. About $276 million to operate our island-wide water system for our community, for almost 1 million people. And that's just how it's broken down. About 1/3 of it's going toward our capital program, either cash funding our CIP projects, our pipeline replacements, or well improvement projects, or floating bonds like we're going to do in the next few weeks to borrow money by selling bonds and repaying that over 30 years. The debt service or that mortgage payment, we have to repay that loan. So that, well, about 1/3 of this, our annual revenue goes toward our capital program. Another third is toward the workforce. We have about 550 employees at the Board of Water Supply to operate the island-wide massive water system. And there's a cost to keep that workforce. About 1/3 goes toward operations and maintenance costs, and a growing number, about 12% toward our electricity bill alone. Next, please. So again, I said about this balancing act between providing safe and dependable water service for our community and affordability. It is a real challenge, and but we have needs that we cannot ignore. Next, please. This is what our CIP looks like, our capital improvement, our infrastructure investments. The two largest categories you see here is pipeline replacement, over almost $400 million in pipeline, over $400 million in pipeline replacements over the next 6 years, and about almost $400 million in projects that address source capacity, treatment systems, new monitor wells for Red Hill, replacement water sources, the seawater desalination plant in Kailua. Next, please. Our customers are broken down into 5 classes: single-family residential, multi-unit residential, agricultural, non-residential, and non-potable and recycled customers. The majority of our customers, about 90%, are single-family residential customers. Next, please. So this is the rate increases that the board adopted last November. It'll go in effect actually February 1st, but you'll actually see it a month later on your March water bills. A 10% increase in February 1st, 10% increase on July 1st of this is both this year. And then every year thereafter, I think it was 9%, 8.5%, 8%, and 8% each July 1st. Next, please. And our residential rates are tiered. There are 4 tiers. Your water use, so you're starting at 0 gallons to 2,000 gallons. That first 2,000 gallons, it's billed at a first tier. And that first tier is what we call our essential needs tier. Maybe I'll just go a few more slides, Chair, so I can save time for questions.
Please, mahalo.
Yeah. So the first 2,000 gallons is our essential needs tier. It is what we provide to our customers, all our residential customers, at below the cost it takes to get that water to our customer. The next 2,000 gallons to 6,000 gallons is the next tier, and 6,000 to 30,000, the third tier, and beyond 30,000 at the fourth tier. About 3% of our customers use over 30,000 gallons. Over 60% use only about 9,000 gallons a month. And for myself, I use about between 3,000 to 4,000 gallons a month, just my wife and I. Next, please. And I mentioned the essential needs tier. Next, please. The increases are going to be the highest for the big water users, over 30,000 gallons a month. for that portion of their water bill that is beyond 30,000 gallons, they were paying more under the new water rates. And the idea here is we want to encourage more conservation. The less water you use, the less you pay. That's the principle that we're operating for the water charges. So our fixed charge is small compared to the quantity-based charge on the usage of water per 1,000 gallons. If you look at E&V's wastewater charges, it's kind of the opposite. Their fixed charge is large, and there's a small portion based on usage of water or generation of wastewater. Because we want to empower our customers through conservation to use less water, to try to conserve our precious value. And this is the orange would be at the end of the 5.5-year period where the rates would be for each of the tiers. And this is for our single-family residential customers. When you're using water over 30,000 gallons, that's a customer that's using over 3 times the average home uses, which is average home uses about 9,000 gallons. So when you're using 30,000 gallons of water, you're using like the equivalent of 3 average homes. Next, please. Keone, next. So I'll just say water conservation, we want to encourage you. We've expanded our conservation rebate program. Right now, for the next 3 months, we are actually increased our rebate for replacing old toilets that use more water per flush to $100 for each toilet that you use. So we're really trying to encourage people to replace toilets. All of us have toilets in our homes, and that's a way you can guarantee savings by using more water efficient toilets in your home. We're also beginning our Kupuna outreach program for water conservation. And we're starting that program here on the Waianae coast. I told my staff, my team, we're going to start on the Waianae coast, on the leeward coast first. And this is reaching out to Kupuna that are like 1 person, 2 people households, limited incomes, to go and with their permission to go into their home to conduct a water audit to look for leaks, dripping faucets, running toilets, or opportunities for water conservation, even looking at outdoor leaks in the property to see if they can spot those. Because, you know, Kupuna, it's hard to hear sometimes that running toilet. And as I get older, I kind of hear the running toilet, but I can see it in my bill. But if we can catch that running toilet and repair it, that'll help our Kupuna's bills stay manageable for them. So that Kupuna retrofit or Kupuna water conservation program is starting here on the leeward coast, first place on Oahu. Next, please. And I'll just say mahalo at that point. Thank you.
Mahalo. I know everybody's burning with questions. If you guys, community members, can start forming a line here if you have questions, and I'm going to go to board member Ganaban. If you can try and just condense our questions, please.
Mr. Lau, thank you. Appreciate your time being here. Hey, so I know everything is built on water credits. Waianae's Y has been one of the major funding sources for your water credits out there. Okay, so on that point, why are we not working with Department of Defense as well to actually extend your water search program to expand the water rights? We pay federal taxes. So why are you guys not reaching out for federal grants rather than putting it off to the customers when they also have the equipment to drill all these wells? Since, right, you know, as well as I know, they actually help develop all the water systems that we have here, because Board of Water Supply wasn't formed until what, the 60s, right?
We were formed in 1929.
1960, formally by Governor John Burns, and it's in the documentations on that. 1929, this was not a state. 1929, this was not a state, right? And it was owned by. So if you're saying you're part of Bishop Water Supply, then I would agree that you were actually formed in 1929.
Sir, I just respectfully.
Yes.
The territorial legislature, before Hawaii was a state, passed a law to create the Board of Water Supply.
Water rights?
The Board of Water Supply as a water utility. Initially in 1929, it only covered like the city of Honolulu. Then in the 1950s, I don't know what happened, but we took responsibility for the suburban water system island-wide.
I can tell you, you want to know how what happened was that they put a 20-inch pipe from our wells, drove it all the way down to Waikiki because Waikiki didn't have the sufficient water credits to build off.
Well,
That's
actually,
what happened.
sir,
So I know what you're saying, Mr. Lau. Mr. Lau, my family's been here longer than you have. So we've been part of the plantation. We've been part of the unions that actually formed here. I may carry this last name, but in IOW, Apostadero goes strong. And you know that. So
Do you have
I
a
will keep with
question?
that. So I'm asking you, sir, to give the people a chance, allow our water to run, work with the Department of Defense, who has a lot of water credits around the island, to help serve the people here so we can save money on our end and preserve what we have right now.
yeah, I completely agree with you, Board Member Ganadan. We are pursuing federal funding wherever there's an opportunity to use federal dollars as opposed to putting our ratepayers, because we know that that is the mode of operation going forward. We just have to hunt down those federal dollars. On the red issue, I'm sorry, this microphone is giving me trouble. But on the Red Hill issue, because of the impact on the aquifer in that Halava area, we have filed a claim against the federal government.
I know what you did. I'm just to let you know, I'm actually a water expert in that area. I didn't take the test over here, but I'm certified in water. So I know what you were doing, Mr. Lau. I was watching all that. Okay, so that's where my concerns are. Instead of fighting with them and suing them, we should be asking them, because right now we have a great working relationship in the community working with DOD, is to form that relationship, to use their resources, because we've been partnering up. DOD has been partnering up with University of Hawaii, building wells and pumps in third world countries that has no water, that actually has water today.
Thank you, sir. I will take the message to the DOD. I meet with them on a regular basis, and I will ask them to drill wells for us to develop new water sources.
I'm not trying to be sarcastic, I'm being honest with you. We have resources here. We have NAVFAC and we have the military there. And I didn't see you at that Kapuna Council. That's why. So I was kind of worried about that. You know, I see you hit and miss on certain things, but just to let you know, there are things out there, Mr. Lau.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
thank you, sir. I
Mahalo.
appreciate it.
Moving on to Board Member Perry.
Mr. Lau, thank you for coming tonight. You know, in cities that have 2 million people, so I have total of 3 questions. So the first one is, how does a city of 2 million people get their water for that amount of people?
Yeah, so the island, we serve about 1 million people. Board Member Perry, nice to see you again.
Thank
Aloha.
you.
We basically get it from the ground, underground aquifers. We pump it, most of it is from wells that we pump from the underground aquifers, but we also have tunnel sources like in Waianae Valley, where we develop water at a high elevation. And actually it was the plantations that did a lot of those tunnels. And Board Member Ganadan is right. Plantations did a lot to move water around this island. So those are the 2 primary ways we get our water resources.
Okay,
And
no,
we have
but
wells all over
Mr.
the
Lau,
island.
Mr. Lau, sorry. My question was, a city that has 2 million people now, how is water provided to the 2 million people? Because with all the building going on in Hawaii, sooner or later we're gonna hit 2 million people. So my question to you, currently, do you know a city that have 2 million people and how are water getting to them?
The cities on like the mainland are
Correct.
larger than 2 million people. They get water from either diverting rivers or other sources or a combination of wells also. So it depends on where. Board Member Perry, for Oahu, it's going to be our underground aquifer primarily, but we're looking at alternative resources like desalination, and also not for drinking, but reusing wastewater, treating it and using it for irrigation instead of high quality drinking potable water.
Okay. And question number 2, should there be restrictions on restriction on not having swimming pools, not having water parks, discontinue showers at the beaches. Can we put like restrictions now before we get in further, um, further need of water?
Right now, there's no restrictions on pools. Although if we get into a drought condition, a long-term drought, that might be one of the things that we restrict people from refilling their pool or changing the pool out and using a lot of water. Beach showers, we're working closely with the Department of Parks Recreation to make them very efficient and not to just waste water, although that's still a challenge. But I know a lot of people, when they go to the beach, they need to kind of clean up before they go home. And they have their wash off at the beach, so we don't have a restriction of that. But if I could, if I could ask that everybody that goes to the beach, you know, you see a shower from Parks, DPR. If the shower is just running, please turn it off and save the water, because that's saves our precious vie.
Great announcement. Okay, and last question. You don't have to answer this because nuclear plant, my understanding, they use fresh water. You don't have to answer because it's not on the agenda, but my understanding about nuclear power plant, which there's a talk about it in Hawaii. Water is what drives that facility. Thank you, Mr. Lau. It's always great to see you.
Thank you, Board Member Perry. Aloha.
Aloha.
Mahalo. Going to Board Member Endo, and then Board Member Lanford, and then Board Member Kalewober.
Mr. Lau, you mentioned you're gonna have you're gonna start in Waianae with the kapuna. I always remember when I first moved out here, I was involved with a church in Miley, and it's now Miley Calvary Chapel. But we saw this water coming out of the ground. So a lot of the homes, old galvanized pipe, all rotten. So you're talking about leaks. If is it there's a way for you find that kind leaks will help. My big thing, Michael Eli mentioned it's a guy drilling for a well way back in Waianae Valley. You might want to send somebody, one of your experts, go look. Make sure they're not drilling over one of your wells and hit your well and contaminate the big wells, right? You might want to check with him where it's at.
Thank you, Board Member Endo. And I heard Eli talking about that, so I'll send somebody out to go look at that, because when you drill a well, you got to get a permit from the State Commission on Water Resource Management for a well construction permit. That's when before you start drilling. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mahalo. Mr. Lanford or Board Member? Go ahead. Sorry, guys, and we're approaching 8 o'clock. If we can please just try and get straight to our questions.
Part of my question, it was desalination. I noticed we're surrounded with salt water, with all of the resorts, hotels, swimming pools at the hotels, water features that they have, water tunnels and slides and all of this other stuff. I was wondering how many desalination plants we have.
Right now, we don't have any. We're working on the very first one in the Palailoa.
Because I seen on the news recently, they have this this new feature that they create waves and you can go out there and surf and all of this stuff. With all the surfing we get at our normal beaches, they still create places where we're going use more of our water that we need to supply ourselves with. And, you know, I mean, yeah, business is business. I understand that. But when you're taking away water from my six great grandchildren that's just been born, and my 16 grandchildren that pretty soon will be out there in the workforce, you know, they be not drinking water, I guess. I don't know, maybe beer. I'm not sure, but yeah, if we can get more desalination projects going with all the salt water we have, I think it would be a big plus for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lanford, about these pools. I'll just say, I don't disagree with what you're saying. Yeah. I think developers should be thinking about reusing water on site, capturing rainwater when it falls, and using less water from the Board of Water Supply and from the community. Thank you.
Mahalo. Board Member Kalei Wilbur, and then going online to Board Member Vahilani.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lau. There years ago, when Chinho had or was doing the Macau Valley and had all these projects going on, is that a hole was drilled on the Haleiwa side of the mountain. I personally witnessed the water coming out of that mountain. And I was wondering if you guys ever addressed that, because when I go swimming out here and our reefs are so dilapidated with fresh water for the limu to cultivate, and yet you can go just outside the harbor, Haleiwa, and that it's like you just should jump into a fish tank because their reefs are just plush with limu and fish and activity, because that water, that fresh water that actually comes down from that area. And this is one of the things that we've been asking for many years. Why have our streams not been the water been reintroduced? I mean, Waianae itself is known for fish swimming upstream, and that's where that our coastline is really deprived of this fresh water that really helps with that ecosystem. That's just something for you, if you can really look into that and please help us kind of resolve that issue. The other thing is, are you guys aware, or is there a permit or anything made mention to that drilling going up in Waianae Valley regarding a well?
So I'll start with that. I just learned about it tonight from what Eli had said. So that's what we're going to be checking on. Just to clarify for everybody, on the Waianae coast, the demand for the community for water, fresh water in this area, cannot be met with the water sources that we have on the Leeward Coast. So we have to actually bring water from the Ewa Waipahu area and bring it into the Waianae coast. Sorry, I got that reaction from you.
I think it's
Yeah. Okay, so wait, let me finish. So we have to basically pump it from the Ewa Waipahu area into this area. And right now what we're seeing is decreased rainfall over the Waianae Mountains over last decades. So we know that over time, maybe with climate change, this area could become drier. That's what's happening right now. Toward that end, one of the things that we are going to be requesting of the Commission on Water Resource Management is actually to designate the whole Leeward Coast as a water management area. And the simple reason, the rest of Oahu, except for the Leeward Coast, is a designated area under the regulation of the State Commission on Water Resource Management, except for the Leeward Coast. And we think it's appropriate given the circumstances this community is facing.
That's just going back to the question of the hole in the mountain.
I don't know where that hole, if you
Well,
could
when
give
it-
me more
It
details.
was to help the sugarcane companies on that side have water. And back then there was no pipe source. Everything was through aqueducts and,
Yeah.
and open trenches. And for that they thrived, but overnight our water disappeared, basically dried up overnight. I mean, our kupuna, and they can testify to just watching, like, where did the water go? Like, fish laying in a stream bed that was swimming, and all of a sudden there's no water coming down. So again, going back into history here, let's address the fact that something was done in the past, and that would definitely help us in the future if that can be rectified, because it is unfair for us to have the largest valley that was created by water in the state. And I mean, it's obvious that this this land was very plentiful in water and water source. So I don't think the elevation changed as far as the mountains for precipitation over the last 150 years. But again, our trades still come to us. We get a lot of water that comes in from Kauai on an unusual day. So there is a lot that is still brought to the Waianae Mountains. But please look into the fact that we are being robbed on our side, just so that something that happened years ago can actually be remedied today, so that we could have what was once great out here on our side, as for a thriving community and for our well-being. We really appreciate if you could look into that.
Thank you, sir. I will.
Okay, so time check. It is 8:08, and I don't mean to be very stern right now, in the sense that I'm gonna allow Board Member Vahilani with his questions, and then our community member that has been standing here to ask his questions. And then we're moving on to the next presentation because we are behind. I knew that this presentation will have lengthier questions because I know the concerns of our moku, and it's a generational thing where we've been advocating always for our water source. So mahalo for everybody, all of your insight. I appreciate each and every one of you. I don't mean to like cut anybody off or anything, but we do have to move along on the agenda. But if we can continue discussions, maybe offline, if you're okay with that, then
I am fine. I'll be here.
mahalo. We appreciate that. Go ahead, Board Member Coco.
Aloha mai, neighborhood board members. Aloha mai, Bernie for coming, mahalo nui for coming out. So I get a couple questions real quick. So the projection of water usage on Oahu'lua, on Kapui Heva, like, is there a way that the Board of Water Supply can collaborate with legislation on, because there's still developing going on, Coal Ridge, right? We got Coal Ridge, Ho'opili still going, Coal Ridge, and we got all these other developments coming on, but do we have the necessity, do we have the necessary why to, to be able to take care of these people that are gonna come in and live here? That's one of the questions. And then a second question, another question was banking off of what board member Wilbur was mentioning about the vai, right? So coming back, all right, Waianae literally means mullet waters. Mullet anai goes upstream, right? But because with the lack of vai, that I believe that Wilbur wanted to say, bring the water back in our mulivais, in our streams, and our Hawaii. Prime example in Lahaina, the water was being kept, right? Kemoku Kapu went on, and now he went on and he showed that afterwards, after the freaking fires went, that the water was released, and now down in Lahaina, those streams are back and flourishing with marine life. So you can do something about that, and especially collaborating with legislation, so that, you know what I mean, just stop stop developing. But because we live in this system, like this American system that, we gotta open up the gates to everybody. But we live on an island, and I'm preaching to the choir. We live on an island 40 miles long, 30 miles wide, a million people over here, but we, we get finite resources, and you know that very well, Kearney. So please, can help with that. I appreciate it. Mahalo.
Mahalo, I hear what you're saying. And I'll just say that uh, there was a tunnel source that we actually had some damage. And rather than trying to fix it, we're going to just let that continue to flow into the stream to bring the water back to restore the stream. There are other tunnel sources up there, but if we turn them out, there are still people needing water on the leeward coast. So we're going to have to supply that through other means. That'll probably be bringing more water from Ewa Waipahu area to meet the needs of our community, because people need. But I hear what you're saying. This is a challenging time, and it's good that we have this conversation. These are important conversations.
Mahalo. And then if you can, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is James Cowles. I'm gonna make it fast. Mr. Lau, I know it's inevitable. The Halava shaft will be closed permanently. Do you have any ideas of where, just off the top of your head, where you're gonna be drilling for new well shafts to replace Halava?
Thank you. Halava Chef is an important question that I don't have the answer right now. It's going to stay shut off because of what's happening with fuel contamination. And folks think I'm being hard on the military. Yes, I'm being hard because we need somebody to protect our VI, to speak up for our VI. Halava Chef, I don't know when we can turn it on. We are actually looking for wells in the Pearl Harbor area, and we are not drilling wells in Waianae to develop water to send to Ewa. I just want to make it very clear. We're looking at drilling wells. We have a project right now in Aiea to drill a new exploratory well. Another one is going to be drilled in Newtown, but we know we have to drill more wells. And it's probably going to go all the way out to the Waiawa Waipahu area.
Mahalo. Thank you so much for coming out and doing the presentation. We appreciate you. And we will stay in communication. I believe our board members also can follow up with their questions.
You're always my good friend.
Mahalo, mahalo.
Mahalo. Okay, moving on to our next presentation. And it's going to be the updates on concerns around Ka'ala areas with Uncle Eric Enos.
Hello, Mike. Hello. Yeah. Hello, Mike. Kako o Eric Enos ko o ino. How's it?
Aloha.
I'm with
Mahalo.
Ka'ala Farm. Yes. So, I'm here to answer any questions. We've been up in the Waianae Valley since the late 1960s with the original Kupuna Council, Fred Cachola Dam, and so all our cultural sites in the back of Waianae Valley. But that's one thing, and I can talk about Waianae Ranch because we were there and we got the rancher out for illegal. They had cattle, 100 head of cattle in the Waianae Forest Preserve for 10 years. This is the original Waianae Ranch. And so when William Maila was the LNR, we had a chance to get the rancher out, 100 head of cattle in the forest reserve. And they were coming in at night and destroying us, and nobody was doing anything about that. Yeah. And so that's how we got control of that land and transferred that ranch back into the community. Our biggest issue also is fire. Yeah. So we're part of the 2018 trying to stop the fire using all those issues. So there's a lot of issues. That's what's happening right now on the property, on that 1,100 acres. So, this is a map of the entire Aupua of Waianae. So it's Kaala Farm is, Mount Kaala is here. This light blue is 1,100 acres of the ranch, all cultural sites. And this is Kaala Farm over here. And with Ernie Lau, now we're getting more water into the Lo'i. So there's been a lot of problems that Mike, Eli Dem and Harris talked about what's happening on Waianae Ranch, because it was originally, we had an EA, environmental assessment done. We're planting trees, recharging some of that water, bringing back the land so we can plants for food, medicine, fiber, energy, spiritual shelter. And yes, that's an illegal horse ranch right now. And it is a violation of our lease agreement we had originally. We had an environmental assessment done with Ho'omaukeola and Kaala Farm. That land was for healing. Working with clients, the substance abuse program, and Kaala Farm is taking care of all the cultural sites up there. And we're gonna also declaring that the back of the valley in the best preserved cultural sites on Oahu. The back of Waianae Valley is the best preserved cultural sites intact on the island of Oahu. The reason is because all our cultural sites have been destroyed, as you all know, yeah. So, and it's the best preserved is because it never got bulldozed. So there's major sites in there, and I have all the information, data. I got a lot of information over there, and we're working with, and then like Mikey Dem and Harris, they've been restoring that Punana Ula spring and the Lo'i. So that's part of the work that we've been supporting. And then now we want to bring that land and keep it back. That horse ranch is an illegal violation of the lease, and we're working with the LNR to stop it and bring it back into its original purpose. So,
Mahalo. Board members, any questions? Board member Gannabon?
Thank you, sir. Do appreciate it. And it's really nice to hear that you are working with Mr. Lau to make sure that the water continues to run, because that is one of the major issues that we have on this side of the island, right? Makaha has the same issue where it's supposed to run, and it actually went to court in 1955, I think it was, when the residents of Waianae or Makaha sued the the plantation to let water run. Or eventually, are you going to work onto that side as well? Because that is a very important area, because our fish sanctuary has really been affected by that being dried up.
the back of Waianae, it was a bunch of Patsy Mink's husband. He was a hydrologist, and so at his time, he had the Border Water Supply purchase the whole back of Makaha Valley. So when Chinho developed, and then prior to that, the Glover Tunnel. The Glover Tunnel, they went poke one hole right below Kaneaki Heiau. That was a spring, yeah? And so that water provided the water for all the golf courses and for the hotel, yeah? So what water supply, and we got 14 acres set aside, and the Glover Tunnel is now working that taro patches, that 14 acres, put it back into taro cultivation, and that's the work of Mohala Ikawai. So yeah, putting water back into the, there's not enough water. We are going to head for some major droughts. And with the idea, we got to do better at when it does rain, two things are happening. There's severe droughts and severe rain. So I learned a new term, rain bombs. When it rains all one time, and that water then goes out into the ocean, it brings the mud, cover the reef, kill the coral, yeah? So what we got to do is stop that. So we're writing for a NOAA grant right now. Brought over there, to a NOAA grant for us to have better management of our forests, put in the right kind of trees that when it rains, it holds the water, and then check dams. You see all those gorges, yeah? So what the idea of holding the water back and distributing the water laterally instead of going down the stream with the mud, yeah. So it's all this new kind of technology. It's desert technology, so that water doesn't go straight down and with mud out into the ocean. We take it down and run it laterally through swales. It's a system that has been used around the world. So when the rainy season, you hold the water recharges groundwater, and the best way to do that is to reforest using the right kind of trees and the right kinds of vegetation. The Hawaiian forest is the best forest for holding back water. The introduced trees, they don't have good ground cover, yeah. But the native forest, the dryland forest, has ground cover. You have ground cover, and you have the trees are like that. So when it rains, the water goes into the earth rather than running off. Yeah. So the hydrology. There's a lot of information into a lot of stuff I have there. I mean, this is years and years and years of research. So we're working on it. So I'll open up for questions.
Thank you.
Not seeing any questions. Anybody online? Mahalo, Uncle Eric, for being here tonight.
Just one last, what we fire?
Mm.
Yeah, we have the whole plan. We had the grenade for that because the fire is all set along Waianae Valley Road. Waianae Valley Road going up to Ka'ala there is the most ignition points in the entire state of Hawaii. Every summer, there's arson. That's what caused the fire, arson. Yeah. So our plan with the ranch is that we have sheep, we're using sheep and paddocks. And La Bula Iaya is doing that right at the ag park. Yeah. It has sheep, because then the fire come down, the sheep eat the grass during the wet season, take the grass down, you reduce fuel load. The same way is to put sheep alongside of that ranch of the road right now. So we have the sheep, we have everything in place, and we granted aid, we got some funds after the fire. So anyway, that's our way to fight the fires. Yeah. So it's a combination. So it's a lot of information. So anyway, leave it open.
Mahalo. You gonna be here for a little bit? Okay.
I'm here.
Mahalo.
Yeah.
Okay, moving right along. So we have DLNR, the NOAA project with Luna Kekwa. Yes, right. Mahalo.
Only get one thing. Try to be back on it next week. No, I think, but I got it. Oh, shows it. Okay, I was that.
Okay, aloha everybody. My name is Luna Kekwa. I am with the Department of Land and Natural Resources in the Division of Aquatic Resources. And so today I'm here to talk about a NOAA funding opportunity. I was invited to the Kupuna Council, and that uncle over there was like, "Brother, you gotta come and talk at the neighborhood board." And so I let him know what day and time, and so I showed up. That's half the battle, is showing up, right? Okay, next slide, please. So like I mentioned, this is a funding opportunity. I heard you guys talking about like why we don't go after federal money. So this is federal money. It's from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They have this climate resilience coastal challenge. It's a 5-year funding situation, and we can go for 25 to 50 million. Next slide, please. And so I figure like one story, you got to know like the who, what, when, where, what's happening, right? So who is applying for this? It's a partnership right now. So we have the University of Hawaii Sea Grant, Kua'aina Ulu Awamo, or KUA, they're a community nonprofit group. And then you have the Department of Land and Natural Resources. And with that comes Division of Aquatic Resources. So we manage fish, the ocean, you have boating. So they manage like the ocean recreation and boating. You have forestry, which the brother was talking about, making those fire trails and stuff. SHPD, so historic preservation with the EV and stuff, right? So all these different divisions are in there. And so that's who is applying for this funding. Next slide, please. So where? we went through this process where we looked at all the different islands and where we have these partnerships and collaborations, right? And trying to see like where can we best leverage this opportunity and making sure that we have partners on the ground who are working and that we can make sure that if we're doing this, that it goes beyond just 5 years, right? We want it to last. So we looked at the Kona side of Kauai, the Waianae Moku of Oahu, Puali Komohana. This one was new to me, but you know, from Wailuku side to Ma'alaya side, that track in the middle. So that's what it was known as. And so we're looking at that track on Maui. In Molokai, we're looking at the Kona area and then Kohala on Hawaii Island, right? So these are the 5 different moku that we're looking to work with. Next slide, please. So what are we trying to do? So like Uncle said, conserving and restoring forests and watersheds, enhance community-based stewardship of the coastal areas, restore marine abundance. I heard Brada talking about limu, sharing knowledge and strengthening networks across communities, and then reducing risk and improving disasters like fires, and then advancing community governance. So some of the projects that we was thinking of that we already have partnerships, right? So we work with, we have a partnership with Waianae High School and their aquaculture program, right? This grant is about restoring. So one of the projects is how do we restore mullet, right? The anai to this area. And so if they can grow it and start it up because they have that aquaculture piece, then what facilities do we have to grow them out? And then we can restock Waianae, we can restock fish ponds, we can restock areas, right? So projects like that. There is coral restoration projects that are happening. The Kamokai held something at Pokai Bay with this Kuleana corals, and they teach people the importance of corals and what like it protects shoreline, it provides houses for fish, right? It's not the only ecosystem, but it's one of the different houses for fish. And then making sure community governance. So how do we hire people in the community to serve roles that can be played? Like, why are we going to hire somebody from the mainland when we can hire people from here who know what the fish is, who know where the habitat is, who can help us monitor like that? And so we're looking to, that's the kind of projects we're looking at. And the next, so the why, like I said, like support these vital community governance projects and Aina stewardships, working with collaborators and partners, so different schools, different nonprofits, and then building enduring programs. The other thing I wanted to mention with this grant is we never go and talk to everybody in all of these different moku, right? So one of the ways we plan for that is, what if we have mini grants, right? So if we get this funding, there's a chunk that's sectioned out for community organizations, partners who are working over here that you guys can apply for funding to say like, hey, we wasn't part of the original plan, but we in this moku and this is how we're contributing. So can we apply for 25K? Can we apply for 50K and get projects going like that? So we already thought like we never reach everybody, but how do we make it so that if you guys have one project or there's concern that there's an opportunity for you guys to get funding. And then that is my spiel. I never come for, if you guys, I already wrote down what Brad talked about with the fire and the horses, because he was saying DLNR, I was like, that's me, so I better write this down. But if there's other things, I can take notes. If it's aquatic resources, I can try and answer. But pretty much I came for share this opportunity because Uncle said come and share. And so that's what I was doing. Open to questions.
Mahalo nui, board members. I have board member Perry online. Go ahead.
Thank you for sharing. You said the magic word money, but you know, Kaneohe Marine, Kaneohe Bay by the Kaneohe Marine. In that area, they have. I know it's not Vana, but uni. The Japanese call it is a very rich delicacy, and the urchin is black and it's short spines. We used to call it Hawaii, but there's another name for it. Okay, so once upon a time, Pokai Bay had abundance of it. Now no more. But you mentioned Waianae High School. I think that particular delicacy would yield more money if somebody worked with Waianae High School or the charter school to begin with. It's very rich and delicious and expensive. Thank you.
Auntie, you talking about the collector urchin? You said Hawaii, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know they
So-
use it canoes to clean the, right? Yeah.
Yep. So that's another way we grow the native urchins, and then we go and put them on the reef for do the job of eating the like invasive lemus and stuff out there. So it is a project. We just never talk story with the school if they like do that because they was already doing an eye, so we never like throw something in. But now that you plant the seed, we can ask.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There's another opportunity for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie.
Mahalo. We're gonna go to Board Member Lanford and then Board Member Crab.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for coming because when I was at the Kupuna Council meeting, they have their agenda, so I felt that it should have come here because of our Olelo people sending it, statewide, on each island, they're able to see what we have out here on the coast, and I appreciate you coming, and I want to thank you personally for coming here tonight. Thank
I
you.
never even had PowerPoint. I had to make PowerPoint because they're like, oh, we're going. I was like, oh, I came like just
Mahalo.
piece paper when we went Kupuna Council.
Sorry, you stay Waianae, anywhere, just point your finger, not.
Mahalo. Okay, so Board Member Crab and then Board Member Vahilani.
Hi, aloha Luna. Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of Board Member Perry's suggestion. That would be really great reaching out to Waianae High School for their project. I know that they're actively looking for more innovative ideas, so that would be a great thing, especially since it's could be kind of native related species of Vana. And then I also wanted to add separately, going back to Mr. Eli's comments of his concerns. Yeah, if you could please try to get back to us because I've been reaching out for months in regards to that issue and we haven't gotten a response yet. And I've called and I've emailed DLNR. So yeah, if someone can respond, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Note taken.
Board Member Vahilani.
Aloha mai Luna. Mahalo for coming to our neighborhood board. Always good to meet another Kanaka. So my question, mahalo nui that that you're actually in the DLNI in the aquatic division because Waianae, Mullet Waters again, right? And anything to bring our streams back in. Is your department collaborating with Board of Water too? Because like Board Member Wilbur had mentioned about returning the vibe back. Like I have mentioned that we also to return the vibe back to our streams. Because our pico is Kaala. And even though they said no more that much rain, but Kaala, the summit of Kaala is a giant bog. So every time when it's enshrouded in owl, my heart rejoices because that precipitation is coming down. You know, so my question is, are you guys collaborating with BOW on like trying to come up with ways to restore streams so that because everything that flows down, right, there's a whole ecosystem that our kupuna and manager the ahupua system. So um very close with Uncle Eric them up working up Kaala, and at one point our streams we had I seen on the tank we had Opaya inside, which was a great indication of the health and well-being of and we even had in our Lo'i too. So yeah, so that's my question, brother. And I like I said, it was great to meet another Kanaka, and only wish the best for you in your career, brother. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Okay, so as far as Border Water Supply, we have relationships with them. I just don't know if we have in Waianae. Like, so I can go and follow up on that to see if we have projects here in Waianae with Border Water Supply. But after everybody was talking, I was like, that's one partner we should include. So thank you for dropping that seed too.
Yeah, mahalo nui.
Mahalo. Auntie Lena, did you want to unmute?
I just
Mahalo.
wanted to Luna mahalo nui for coming back out to the west side and listening to the kupuna Uncle Richard and his request for you to come and talk to the neighborhood board. I know this is out of your work area and your work description, so mahalo for showing aloha to our moku and our people. I appreciate you.
Mahalo.
Economy Chair, Luna, can you drop your contact information in the thread? Yo,
Yeah.
Lulu?
If you go to the
Mahalo
first,
nui.
so it's Edward.L.Kikoa at
What about your
Hawaii.
phone number, brother?
Yeah, he typed it on inside at Hawaii.gov.
Mahalo. Mahalo.
Yup. I know everybody try for look for Luna. I was like, no, you gotta use my English name. Luna's part of my middle name. So
Mahalo.
yeah, mahalo nui.
Mahalo. Thank you so much for coming out and for making the presentation. Special for us. Okay, so I will ask if nobody has any, or if anybody doesn't have any objections, if we defer 5.5, 6.1, and 6.2 in tonight's agenda. So that's the emergency access through Kole Kole Pass by Philip Ganaban. And then 6.1, the tribute, Antiao Momoa, and tribute to Uncle Andrew Kiskarin. If we can defer that to further notice. Just if anybody, if you don't have any objections, then we will be deferring those items on the agenda. So we can move along. Okay.
Second.
No objection, Perry.
Yeah, if nobody objects. Yeah. Mahalo. So the 3 agenda items is deferred. We'll be moving right along to recognizing Uncle Eric Enos. Just so that. If you would like to. Yes, please. So, do you want to go to the mic and if, okay, you can read it there if you want to. It's up to you.
So this is for Eric. This is for you. Yeah, this is honoring you. So I'm gonna read it. Resolution honoring Uncle Eric Enos for his devotion to Native Hawaiian values, culture, and education. Whereas Uncle Eric Enos has dedicated his life to the promotion and preservation of the Native Hawaiian values, culture, and practices, and has tirelessly, look like you're tired. Work to ensure that our people are well informed and educated with the necessary mana'o to lead current and future generation to prosperity on the Aina, and whereas Uncle Eric Enos has selflessly contributed countless hours and years of service in various capacities, making significant positive impact in our community and educational system, ranging from elementary and collegiate levels. And whereas Uncle Eric Enos has been a driving force in the growth, restoration, and protocol within our community, providing invaluable insights and na'au that have shaped the path of our people to strive and flourish. And whereas Uncle Eric Enos is recognized as a pillar in our moku, carrying great na'au and always being willing to encourage and teach others. thereby leaving a lasting impact on the present and future of our Moku. And whereas Uncle Eric Enos has been a blessing, yes, he's been a blessing to our Moku, sharing his Manao from history to the essential elements requiring from sustaining our honor, making him an invaluable asset to our Moku as a whole. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the Waianae Coast Neighborhood Board, hereby express our deepest gratitude and appreciation for Uncle Eric Enos for his unwavering dedication, leadership, and contribution to the growth and prosperity of Kanaka in our Aina. And be it resolved that we extend our heartfelt mahalo nui loa to Kumu Eric, for his love, guidance, and commitment to the well-being of our community. And we cherish him dearly for the positive impact he has made and continues to make. It witnesses, therefore, we have set our hands and caused the seal of Waianae Coast Neighborhood Board to be affixed this 6th day of February, 2024. Mahalo. All right.
Mahalo, but you know, we can't do this. We do this hanapono on the back, on the shoulders of our kupuna, of our mothers, our fathers, our aunties, and our uncles, and our tutus. Yeah. So I appreciate it, but I would not be here without the village. It takes a healthy village to raise the community. And the work that you folks, everybody in this room is doing is what makes it work. I work in a kitchen in the back, just like you. I remember you was at Waianae Hawaiian Studies. Was there working in the back? That's where we work, you know. I mean, so mahalo, mahalo, but it's kako, kako, kako. Nothing is impossible when we do it together, and we, it's aloha ke akua, mahalo, 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 aloha.
Mahalo. Thank you, Kumu Eric, again for all you do in our moku. So we're moving right along to agenda item number 7, board business. So approval of Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024, regular meeting minutes. Motion. Motion made by, okay,
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
made by Board Member Lanford and seconded by Vahilani.
Yeah.
Okay, Maikai. And then, so. All in favor say aye.
Perry, I.
Wahilani, aye.
Remember,
Kale
Crab,
aye.
I.
Kale aye.
Okay. Tiana Wilbur, aye.
Aye.
Oh, Mr. Lanford, aye. Can you just say, so everybody know? Here.
Aye.
Mahalo. Is that all of them, Jen? Okay. Thank you. And then 7.2, approval of Tuesday, February 6, 2024 agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Approve it.
Okay, so motion moved by Vahilani and seconded by Endo.
I have an
All in-
amendment, Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Just really quickly, at the bottom for reports, for the committees, Mr. Endo is co-chair with me for the Education Committee. That's it.
Co-chair. Okay, got it. We will make sure that is changed.
Thank you.
Malacross.
Go ahead, Board Member Perry.
Just in the approval of the agenda is to be clear about the defer of 5.5, 6.1, and 6.2 to the agenda.
Mahalo.
Thank you.
Any other discussion, amendments? All in favor to approve today's February 6, 2024 agenda, say aye.
The amendment, Perry,
With
aye.
amendment.
With the amendments, right?
Wahilani, aye.
Lanford, aye.
Aye.
Clay, aye.
Tiana, aye. Okay. Good. Okay. All right. So any reports from board members on attendance at other meetings, that might be a conflict of interest regarding any issue under board business that would require disclosure or recusal? Go ahead, Board Member Crab.
I just wanted, for awareness, when Councilmember Tupola had her resolution for Lualule Beach Park, I did testify, but in my testimony, I did clarify that I was not testifying on behalf of the board. I just wanted to add that in again and clarify. Thank you.
Mahalo.
So we attended the meeting.
That was February. That was February 1st.
I went to some.
Okay, for myself, I'm just going to state that I attended a pilot program for parks and NSW. There was multiple members present, but no discussion was made on January 30th at the Boys and Girls Club in Waianae.
Yes, it is on that.
Yeah, that's right.
The Cal one, Cal meeting.
So that was what, too many meetings now. I never read them down. In front of me, I know what it is.
I was in the last week just like, so I never said anything.
Here.
I just got back from Vegas.
You just take the meeting just.
Saturday.
I also attended the January 30th meeting with NSW along with Tiana Wilbur at Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, if no other board members, moving on to 7.4 Cedar Farms update and status. So Auntie Sweets was present earlier. She had to leave, but there is an update as far as the concerns that we've continually been hearing from community. So I'm just gonna read off what the updates I have directly from Kika, because they were unable to make it tonight. So they do have action items and thoughts that they are working directly with Cedar Farms and the pastor there as far as their operations. And things that they're working on and getting the permits and everything is getting it to be a legal operation. The 4-acre parcel only allowed one dwelling, 4 homes on the parcel, being that it's ag land. Group living facility apply for the conditional use permit. 2 acres of land needs to be ag use. Accessories dwelling, any accessories dwelling unit sheds are not permitted. Conditional use permit, major rebuild homes, grant and aid, the GIA, and the application is in October. Ideas, workforce living. So this is some of their ideas and thoughts on how they're gonna reach these goals. So workforce living, ranch farmers to use land for profit and jobs, pay their own trash bins, $5 per person to help pay for the bins, renovate homes and expand. And then, sorry. And then they are working closely with KWO and Catholic Charities as far as providers and working to house families. And then as well as partnerships with Halibai Vista, and it says need to check with Outreach or Halibai Vista. So I guess for more, like, to partner with them, and then transition people into housing. So it's not a long-term facility use. So the councilwoman's office is working closely with them to get them back on track and in alignment with what our current policies are that are in place. Board Member Perry, do you have a question?
Tiana, that's really underhanded by the state. They, a representative from outside our district, and I'm sure you got Miley's approval and Gates' approval to send the homeless people to that farm. Really underhanded. They're going backwards. Okay, all of that should have been done in place before moving anybody in here and be technically operational by the books. Really underhanded. Underhanded, Miley and Gates, to your own community. Underhanded.
Okay, mahalo. Board Member Kaukohu.
Yes, Chair. So the Cedar Farms, is that the one up Waianae Valley that was run by the Korean? Is that the?
Aye.
Where's that Cedar Farms? Is that the one?
Yes.
Correct.
So um so after I was hearing what you're saying, that there was only allowed, a permit was allowed just one dwelling, but then they had multiples because they had, from my understanding, that people was living on property in makeshift tents and whatnot. My question is, either they didn't know or they didn't care about implementing all of those things prior to making that their plan, and especially coming because it's, to my understanding, Cedar Farms, they're not from Waianae. I could be mistaken, but that was my
You are
understanding.
correct.
So
You are correct.
I just, care. So I just wanted to just put my remarks on that. Like, hopefully, well, so now that they got caught, they gotta go and, cross the T's and dot their I's. So for me, like, especially if you're not from Waianae and you're coming into Waianae for set up something, gotta be fun. You gotta do them. So that's my mahalo.
Mahalo. We can definitely have a discussion on that, as far as the history is concerned with the property and how it ended up where it's at today. But I know that that is a goal of the pastors and the owners of the property to get it back in Pono standings. Any other questions regarding this or discussion?
Prosper Epstein?
No. I mean, it's housing and homelessness, but.
Can I ask you a question? Or should I?
Is it pertaining to this thing?
Yeah.
Board Member Kalei Wilbur has a question.
My question is actually to Board Member Crab. This is a housing and homeless issue. Is it something that you've been aware of and is addressing?
Yeah.
As far as well, the concerns and then of course the violations and stuff.
No, for sure. In the many capacities of my life, I've been trying to address it. I was actually going to ask Mayor Blangiardi's representative, Director Apuna, for an update when she came on or when she comes on later in the agenda? Because I haven't received an update from the city.
Thank you, Ross.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else, any questions? So it was just basically to discuss the concerns that we've been hearing and to allow the opportunity for Auntie Sweets to kind of share and then give the update of what we received from Councilwoman's office. So moving right along, so there's no vote or anything. It was just to update us on what the concerns that we've been hearing monthly. So 7.5 clarifications on rules and expectations as board members regarding agendas and minutes. So this is a concern that came up last month as far as our agendas or our minutes not being submitted on time. So after careful review, there hasn't been any violations of turning in minutes or agendas late or not on time. And so, but I do want to ask as a board if we can please try and, so this is something that we've done in the past where all of our agendas, and actually Mr. Endo mentioned this in the beginning of the meeting, ironically, if at the last Tuesday of the month before our meeting, that's when our agendas are due. And the reason for us to try and make that a hard stop or a hard turn-in date is so that we don't send out multiple mailouts. In the past, we had to keep track of our mailing funds and things like that. And now that we don't see the funds that is available in our account, but we also don't want to abuse the funding and put it to multiple mailouts when it could also support our board in other ways, like they have with our T-shirts or things like that. So if we all, as chairs of committees, can try to submit our agendas the last Tuesday of the month before our meeting. So if that's something that we can work on together collaboratively. And then also to lessen any frustrations or anything from community as well. And then our minutes, giving us that 30-day window to submit our minutes as well. Does anybody have any discussion or wants to address anything regarding that?
I have a question. What if the meeting that you have is the last Thursday of the month?
Is any of our meetings the last Thursday of the month?
It's just a rhetorical
Oh,
question.
okay. Yeah, that's definitely understood. The last Thursday, I mean, I think it should still give you time to at least Monday, Tuesday to submit, right?
Well, if the committee agendas are submitted on the last Tuesday of the month, even if it falls on the following month's last Thursday, the community will have enough in advance because it'll go out with the same mail out as the regular board meeting agenda. So if it goes out the last Tuesday of the month with the mail out, it's the last Thursday of the following month, they'll still have the agenda.
Mahalo. So again, if anybody has any comments or concerns regarding this, or if this is something that we're able to try and meet, so that we have one mail out.
The reason for the last Tuesday is so that it'll be ready for the first Tuesday or prior to the first Tuesday.
Well, because they have 6 days, they need the 6th day, by the 6th day needs to have been mailed out and the agenda needs to have been posted for public to have received before the meeting.
So could we specifically name specific 6 days prior to next board meetings?
Go ahead.
For the NCO, we asked that it's done in a week in advance because that gives us room to give you guys calls and emails to clarify agendas if there are misprints or just to clarify if a date or information on the meeting. That way the following day, everything's ironed out already for the mail out to take place. So there's no complications prior to the mail out.
7 days. 7 days.
And in our neighborhood plan, it states it 7 days.
Okay.
So if no further discussions, sorry, hold on, there's a discussion. No, I'm good. Can I just do like a roll call, like everybody's in favor of that? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so just because we discussed this and if we are in agreement, if we could just do a voice vote on if anybody in favor of trying to meet this deadline for our agendas. Roll call vote or voice vote? All in favor?
What's the motion? I'm sorry, what's the motion? What's the motion? What's the motion?
Somebody can make the motion. Go ahead.
No motion was presented, but I'll present the motion that the agendas. Hold on.
Submit by the last Tuesday of the month, so that.
All of that is in the neighborhood plan.
Yeah.
What to do about the minutes and agenda, that's all outlined in the neighborhood plan. Which we need to
Micah,
follow.
yes. But this is why we're solidifying it to make sure as a board, we're gonna move forward together in doing that because that is not currently happening. And we have 2 or 3 mail outs mailed out every month so far. So we are trying to fix that and we're addressing it right now. And so that's why the motion is being presented.
You fix it by doing it, okay? We've been on the board for a while. That's how you fix it. Just do it. Nay.
Understanding the
Getting rid
question now,
of is already in place. Just do it.
I motion that we all submit our agendas at the same time, but before the last Tuesday, so that we can save on the NCO's job of spending money on separate mailouts when they can all be mailed out at the same time.
I understand that would come from the neighborhood board.
That was my motion.
Second.
I
Seconded by Mr.
understand.
Endo. Okay, so roll call vote. Or anybody, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any
No,
opposed?
Perry, no,
Any abstain?
we should already know that.
Aye. Agreed. Okay, 7.6, legislative bills, discussion, questions, concerns, and support. Thank you, Jeff, for attaching the Drive Google link to these bills. This isn't even a quarter or a little, it's just a little snippet and it's not even all of the bills. It doesn't even include Rep. Keela or Senator Shimabukuro in these, just because of the time and the schedule that I already held, but I hope that others was able to access this and look through it because there is some bills that we as a community could probably support, or maybe we need more clarification on. So this is here as an encouragement for our community to get involved in our legislative matters and the discussion or understanding what the legislative bills look like. So I don't know if any of our board members actually got to take a look at any of the bills. Any discussion?
It's a great added to the agenda. Great idea. Thank you.
Mahalo. Being that there's no discussions, I am not going to elaborate on my notes on these bills because I don't want to be the only one talking. So if we could please do our due diligence, even as community, right? Again, if we want to see difference in our community, then how can we be the difference? How can we make the change? How can we get involved and support some of these bills that our legislators are are putting through, or maybe it's something that might affect us, and how do we involve ourselves in making sure that, I mean, if we don't want another drilling happening, or we don't want another something happening, that's where our voice can be heard. And this is something that we need to start being ma'atu in how these legislative matters happen, and not, we want to be proactive and not reactive, you know, where we're going to come to the table after the fact and go, oh, but where were we? But it was out there, right? And so we want to make sure that we are trying every way possible, that we are communicating this to community and to each of us, so that we can take part in what's going to affect us in our future. So mahalo for that. If there's no other discussions regarding any particular bills that was listed, or you guys might have your own bills, I'd be happy to hear.
Someone else trying to think of. But I know I was gonna ask Miley that.
You can. And then, so if no other discussion on that, we're gonna move right along to Mayor's Rep. Dawn, if she's still here.
I'm here. Aloha.
Aloha, Dawn. Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you. So I only have one item to report on. This is the SMA development at 84931 Farrington Highway. The special management area major permit application number 2023/SMA 97 was received by DPP on November 7th, 2023. A notice of incomplete application was issued to the applicant's representative on November 22nd, 2023. The notice identified a number of items that must be addressed to meet the criteria for a complete application. Copies of the materials and the DPP's response can be requested from our data access and imaging branch at 808-768-8277 and located on the first floor of the FMB building. So that's the only issue I had to report on, but if there's questions, I think there were questions on this specific project as well as the Cedar Farms. For Cedar Farms, we had the Department of Community Services was kind of leading the charge on that with Director Anton Krucky. But if there are certain concerns about occupancy, etc., we can send out an inspector to see what's going on. But that's basically what I have, but I'm open for any questions.
Mahalo, Dawn.
I have a question.
Is this Coco?
Yes.
Go ahead, Board Member Vailani.
Hello, Don. Happy New Year. So sis, this is wondering, does this an investigation going on with up at Kaala Farms with with that other entity that was putting horses and going on people's property and whatnot? Were you folks, were your office privy to that as well?
Not that I'm aware of, but they might have. Kaala Farms, you said?
Well, yeah, up on Kaala Farms, Ontario was talking about that earlier, but I know it's under investigation, but I just was wondering if your office was privy to that information too.
No, I mean, I personally am not aware, but my staff may have. If you want to eat or something, I can check. And is there an address that I can look for in our system?
Tiana, do you have that info, Tiana?
I'm sorry, Calamine, which could
On
you
the
just communicate
investigation.
offline, and then I don't know what particular, I'm sorry. And time check, we're at 9:09, so
Okay.
so that's
All right. I'll
if
talk to you later. Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
I will send that.
Okay.
Board members, wait. Okay, Board Member Cross, go ahead.
Director Puna, I just wanted to follow up for the residents in Lehoku, especially with the large amount of rain we've been receiving. The residents along the mountain are still concerned if there was an update for the individuals that were grading the mountain illegally, if there's still like that investigation happening, because the rains are bringing in more debris from the mountain into their yards.
I can check. I can check and report back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mahalo. We have Board Member Lanford, and then we're going to Community, Joe Jordan.
Yeah, Don, I brought up that issue earlier with HPD. I was wondering if I can do an offline tomorrow to try to see the mayor's office of how they would address the situation, if it's all right with you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I can
Okay.
see what other information what updates we have on it, and if we need to do more.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, due to time constraints tonight, I want to move this thing along. So I'll call you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mahalo. Community Member Joe Jordan.
Aloha, Dawn. Thank you for being here this evening. My question is regarding the Cedar Farm property. Back in about May or June of 2022, you reported to the Waianae Coast Neighborhood Board that DPP no longer was handling the issues at Cedar Farm and that Department of Community Services were.
Yeah.
So it's been almost 2 years. When is the Department of Planning and Permitting going to begin to readdress those issues and concerns? Because clearly Mr. Cronky has not reported anything to this Waianae Coast Neighborhood Board or to the community at whole in regards to many of the unpermitted violations at the farm. And I'm not addressing the housing of the unsheltered. I'm addressing the issues that DPP should be providing responses to. So when will that happen, ma'am?
So I think that, we were allowing Director Truckee to take care of some of the unpermitted structures for the homeless or the houseless. If there's additional potential violations, I would need to know exactly what those are in order to send inspectors out. So this seems to be something different and outside of what the pastor is trying to do. So I'm not aware. I think I've asked before if there were other violations, so I would need those in order to send an inspector out. So there's no problem with us doing that. I think I need more specific information, but I was under the impression it was only with regard to what the pastor was doing with the property for the homeless. So we can take that information and send someone out.
Okay, so just as a follow-up, back in 2022, I took the understanding that all concerns would be directed to DCS and not to DPP. So is there a different statement right now that if we do have additional DPP concerns that we can come directly to that department?
Yeah, I think that's always been the case. But I think that whatever the pastor was doing as a project for that property, I think that was the understanding in 2022, that was all covered and under the responsibility of the pastor and kind of under control. But it sounds like there's something outside of what is intended for the property that Director Truckee was working on. So if that's the case, then absolutely DPP would go out and investigate and see if there's, certain violations or other things that we should be aware of and we should be addressing.
Thank you, Director Apuna, and thank you, Chair. I will follow up with both of you.
Mahalo. Board Member Perry.
On the first issue about Cedar Farms came out when it hit the newspaper front page, and one of the issues was those 2 sheds. There was no permit about that. And like my statement earlier, I guess the city and state legislature was all in the making of all this violation and just kept it to the community, kept it away from the community because of the unsheltered population that occupy the farm. We're very underhanded and slap in the face to the community. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.
Mahalo. Okay, so we are at 9:15. Um, yeah, I'm gonna just, so if we have a few people that's here in person, that's why if we can get through as many as possible. So if there's any way we could maybe leave our contact or something, if we have questions, if we can just get through everybody that is here, and then we can resource our questions to them directly, if that's okay with everybody. So that we're not having to stop and ask the questions, we can just send it directly to the individuals. Because right now, so we don't have anybody from Councilwoman's office. We do have Chris from BWS. We have Lieutenant Colonel Yoon, Uncle Vic, Danny Hayes, and then our elected officials as well. So we have Governor's Rep, Senator Miley Shimabukuro, and I believe Mr. Gates' office had to leave. He did leave it in the chat with the newsletter. Okay, if we get to it, then I believe our board member Crab has left our meeting and will be standing in if we get there to present for Representative Gates' office. So we're gonna just go right down the list. So next would be BWS Christopher Sugimoto.
Hi, Chair. Good evening, everyone. My name is
Mahalo.
Sugimoto from the Honolulu Board of Water Supply. I'm going to share my screen real fast. Okay, so this is our monthly report. So there were no main breaks to report. For the general water announcements, it's a $100 toilet rebate. So the BWS is providing its customers with a $100 rebate on WaterSense labeled toilets, 1.28 gallons per flush or less. This is more than double the usual rebate and is only offered for a limited 90-day period through April 18th. So this special rebate's limited to 4 per household and 10 for commercial customers. More information can be found on our website at www.boardofwatersupply.com/rebates. And the next thing is a update on a water system improvement project on Kawili Street. So May Corporation is continuing their work to install new 8-inch water mains along Kawili Street from Ikuku Street to the end of Kawili Street. Motorists are advised to expect traffic delays. The contractor's working hours are Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and except for observed state holidays. That's the ending of my report. Does anyone have any questions or comments for BWS?
If there is any, we will direct them to you offline.
Okay.
But thank you so
Sounds
much
good.
for waiting and being here this month. We appreciate you. So moving right along, so we have U.S. Army Garrison Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Yoon, and then we'll have Danny Hayes and Uncle Vic right after.
Madam Chair, board members, community, thank you. I only have 2 points for the community. So first, February job fair is open for the community. The next hiring fair is on February 20th, and it's at Hilamanu Military Reservation. It'll begin at 8:30 and end about 2 p.m. The second one for the February training, there is some training going on, but mostly over in Schofield in the North Shore side, and there is some aviation training at night. That'll occur from midnight to 11:59 the following day. So that'll occur between now and 18 February and then 26 to 29 February. So those are the 2 quick points for the community. I'm standing by for any questions.
Mahalo, thank you. We're gonna go to Danny Hayes first and then to Uncle Vic.
Aloha Chair, aloha community. I'll read off a couple of these bullets real quick. They go with the update that I provided earlier. So the Joint Task Force Red Hill, and I believe we have someone in the audience to be able to answer. They removed approximately 25,000 gallons of residual fuel from the Red Hill facility pipelines. They began doing that in January 15th, mid-month, last month. The Navy Closure Task Force has launched its new website January 25th. All of that information is provided. I can also drop it into the chat as well. And then finally, the interagency drinking water system team developed a long-term plan to monitor drinking water. The Navy, or the water meets federal and state safety drinking water standards, and the Navy's first priority is to provide reliable and safe drinking water to those who live and work on the Navy's water system. They've also sent quite a few personnel and resources here to help support that. With that, I will turn it over to Uncle Vic. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Danny. Victor Flint, Naval Facilities. We had some action today at Lulu'ole. Plane came down for emergency landing. HFD respond, Navy police respond. Thank goodness the two passengers inside were okay. And this incident is under investigation by FAA and the National Safety Transportation Board. And so they're in charge of the investigation. They're going to supply any updates. And that's what we have on that. Kolikoli Pass, clear and passable for declared emergencies. And that's all I have. Are there any questions for Brother Danny or myself?
We will definitely defer questions for outside of a meeting, just for the sake of time. Thank you guys so much for being here and waiting, sticking with us.
Roger.
We appreciate you guys. Okay, moving right along. So Joe Takuda, I didn't see any rep. Okay. And then we have Governor's Rep, Stacy. Stacy. Mahalo. No.
No problem.
Mahalo nui.
Mahalo. I know we're on a time constraint, so I'm just gonna ask if you folks have any questions or comments, concerns that you want me to take back to Governor's office. I can take them at this time.
Go ahead, Board Member Endo.
I was wondering if possible, I don't know who be able to do it, but you know, with the hidden, nobody's telling how many people dying from Sentinel. When COVID didn't hit, every day we're getting updates how many people died. I think to get the public's attention, I think we should start publicizing how many people are dying from Sentinel. And the reason I say this is the guy I was talking to that he died 3 times. His customers died. 13 guys died. He was able to revive 3 of them. But you don't see that nowhere in the news that these people are dying. Kids are dying from this drug. I think it'd be good for the public to know how bad this situation is.
Okay, I will share that with Governor's team. Anybody else online?
Okay.
Okay,
Mahalo.
if there's
And-
anything else, you board members can email me. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for staying. And then we're gonna go to Senator Miley Shimabukuro. Thank you so much for waiting with us.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Okay,
perfect.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. I'll be just going over, we hopefully got my newsletter.
Yes.
On the bill section, page 2, some of the bills that are moving, the local IA bill for Waianae High School is SB 2329. Also, the cash awards for DHHL recipients is moving as well. On page 3 of my handout, public housing evictions bill is moving. Important to clarify that evictions are only triggered really technically when someone actually has a writ of possession that's served upon them before they can be ineligible for Section 8 in public housing. Page 4, the Makua Valley Task Force bill is also moving and scheduled this week. And an interesting land lease bill, SB 2759, has also been scheduled next week. That basically says that if the state should end leases with anyone who's committed a crime or has not complied with environmental requirements. On page 5, brown water testing bill, a bill that Surfrider Foundation has been pushing for a long time, as well as advocates for areas like Pokai Bay and others. And illegal camping bill, SB 471, I know this is a bit controversial. It's moving. I'm going to work with HPD to push for amendments that the criminal petty misdemeanor only happens if there is in fact a safe zone that the person can go to, just to comply with the Supreme Court. And then finally, page 6, recycling construction debris bill has been scheduled, and that's a big one for us because PVT is going to be closing. And with nowhere else to go, all the construction waste is going to go to Waianae Gulch. So with that, I'll be open for any questions.
Mahalo, Senator. If anybody has any questions, please send it directly to Senator's office. And then to Representative Cedric Gates.
Hi
Cross-
everyone. Oh, hi everyone. Aloha. Cross Crab with
Aloha.
Representative Gates' office. Our committee clerk was on earlier tonight, Christopher Shelko. He was supposed to be representing our office tonight, but he had to leave early. So here I am, and I wanted you guys to meet him too. But hopefully, folks will meet our staff in the future in other capacities. But yes, we did put our newsletter in the chat, and then we are planning to be mailing that one out to the general public as well. I don't have anything else to necessarily present, but we are working heavily in session with Senator Shimabukuro, and our first hearing for the Agriculture and Food Systems Committee, which Representative Gates chairs, is happening tomorrow, starting at 9:30 a.m. Thank you. And feel free to send any questions our way as well.
Mahalo. And then Representative Kila. I don't see anyone present. He did forward his newsletter in email. So if anybody would like that, I mean, I know you can definitely reach out to his office and they'll happily send it to you. Or you could also reach out to us and we can forward it as well. So moving on to any committee reports. So for transportation, we already had our transportation meeting last week, Thursday. It's usually the first Thursday after our board meeting. But for this month, it was already reserved. The room was already reserved for last week, Thursday. So the transportation meeting has already happened for this month. I know there's one concern that we are already moving on. I'm not going to even mention it now. But Hawaiian Affairs, we're waiting for a date. Coco, did you want to share any bit on that?
Not at this time, Chair.
Okay. And then Parks.
Thank you, Chair. Been really busy the last few weeks with parks, trying to solidify that Kiao resolution and get things in place, such as barriers and addressing concerns regarding that area. I've also been working with Deputy Director Kehau Pu'u and other community members, as well as Richard Lamford, for a new program that we're trying to start called Parks. The acronym stands for Pride, Awareness, Responsibility for our Keiki Safety. And a lot of it is this area, we have the largest acreage of community parks, but 90% of it is coastal. And we have 10%, which is recreational. And even those recreational parks are lacking in assets, such as maintenance, lighting. Just to take an example, the two regulated football fields that we have on this whole entire coastline is Pilila'au and Nanakuli Beach Park. Pilila'au, there's about 3 or 4 different organizations that are trying to utilize this park. There's also a baseball diamond that is lit and one that's not lit. But then we have multiple baseball organizations that are trying to use these facilities, and they're limited based on availability and sunlight. And then there's Nanakuli, which got to share all of that on one field. So just getting to that, this coming Tuesday, my meeting is going to be mobile. We're going to do a park walk with Director Pu'u, HPD, and other leaders of the community to go and engage with the parents and coaches to find out what can be done better to help with these organizations and the safety of our children. And that's next week, Tuesday, the 13th, from 5 to 7:30. That's where we'll be at. Thank you.
Mahalo. Board Member Crab, anything as far as housing? Sorry, and we're already at 9:30, so if we can, everybody just, so we can finish off the agenda, please. Mahalo nui.
No problem. Really quickly, we just had our meeting last week, I believe. I'll be sending the minutes for that meeting fairly soon. And then, yep, no other updates.
And
Oh, I'm
education?
gonna be having some guest speakers lined up for the next future meetings. Thank you.
Awesome, mahalo. And then for education, did you want to share as well?
Yeah. So Mr. Endo and I have been working on some things together, and those minutes will be put into the will be submitted soon as well. Thank you.
Mahalo. So moving on to announcements, our regular neighborhood board meeting is next month, Tuesday, March 5th at 6:30. And just community consciousness and values be part of the solution, not the problem. And just one quick announcement, because it was announced here in our discussion tonight as far as Narcan. If you guys were not aware, I believe, to my knowledge, it was just brought to me that there's Narcan dispensers at Waianae Coast Comprehensive, and I think you can get up to 2. And it's always good to just kind of keep that Narcan thing on your persons, because you never know when you might come across. So I've had Narcan in my purse for the last year. But this is also like different funding programs and stuff that our state has allowed and allocated for us to have access to Narcan, as Corporal Pagan and stuff stated earlier, that it's not necessarily harmful if you use it, and I'm not saying to use it, please do not use it. And if you have an opportunity to get a training on it, they're available. But just letting you guys know, if you guys are concerned about access to have that to help somebody that might be in an overdose situation, then our Waianae Coast Comprehensive do carry the Narcan available for community. So that is my last announcement, and I appreciate you guys' patience for being here tonight.
Senator Miley, this is Austin. I don't have the information about regarding the state fire marshal being proposed in legislation. Is it a House bill, Senate bill? Don't know the numbers. Help us navigate on that, the fire marshal. Because
Sure.
of all these fires things. That's, I think, is an important issue on this side of the island.
Yes, very important issue. There are several bills floating about the fire marshal, and even so, I will look those up and email that to you or text you, Austin.
Yeah.
But yeah,
hopefully,
that's a
there's
huge issue on everyone's mind.
Hopefully, never gone to the first hearing yet. We need it.
Yeah, mine didn't move, but there's other ones that were introduced. They're probably going to focus on ones that were from the Maui legislators, I would think, since it's a Maui issue. But yeah, I know that that's huge on everyone's mind. So it's gonna move. There's many different vehicles.
Okay, that's all I got.
Mahalo,
Okay,
Senator.
I'll text you. I'll text you.
We are adjourning at 9:34, and again, I appreciate all of your presence and your patience. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you, everyone.